Hello, welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
How's everybody doing?
Well, we got a good one today.
I asked these rhetorical questions you guys can't answer.
You do.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do answer the headphones.
You're like, oh, we're doing fine.
Doing great today. Listen to some True Crime Guys.
You are going to be doing great after this one. This is a fun case.
It is. We're fresh off of a break
Right.
and a Patreon exclusive. So if you're a freeloader, that's fine. But you guys missed a couple weeks. If you want to sign up for Patreon, there's never been a better time. H.H. Holmes, we just recorded that one. And
Yes.
for $2 a month, you'll get that one and a bunch, 15, 16 other episodes.
Yes, plus a bunch of bonus content.
We talked to Esther from Once Upon a Crime. There's a recording of that on there. There's conversations with creepers. We talked to $10 patrons. There's all kinds of stuff for you.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mention the giveaway, though, because Patreon don't like that.
Oh, yes. we
got in
need
trouble.
to talk about that. Yeah, so apparently we can't mention the giveaway on Patreon anymore. So if you are a patron, we're still going to be doing the giveaway, but we're going to announce it on the episode only. And
we can't put up posts about it.
Yeah, we can't put up posts about it. So we took a bunch of them down. So if you're wondering why they're down, they're down. Patreon's like, you can't do that. That's
against our...
I don't know what's the deal.
It's in the fine writing, apparently, when you sign up that you can't do giveaways on Patreon. So
It's basically like gambling. It's like illegal gambling because
guess
people
what?
are...
We're rebels.
We're doing this shit anyway, so we're just not going to post about it. Yeah. To be fair, they said revise it. We're revising it.
Yeah.
That's revising it. Right?
Still going to do it.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
So you guys are still getting shit, so it's all good.
Enough about Patreon. If you want to become a patron, go for it.
Cool. If not, enjoy this episode because it's going to be dope.
We're going to butcher the beautiful French language.
Yeah, that's why I picked it. I just wanted to hear you say French words all for like an hour.
Right. And we kept talking about doing heists, and
Yeah.
we kept not doing them.
What better than the heist of the
We
century?
haven't done anything like this since one of our best episodes, I think.
Jose Vagoa?
Jose Vagoa,
Yes.
the Scarface of Sin City.
Yes.
Very similar. We got a bank heist, guys. I'm excited.
Uh,
It's no Moida. This guy was not about violence.
No.
He took what he wanted without violence.
he's like a French Robin Hood.
He is.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, except he wasn't really given to the poor. He was given to
Was he?
right-wing political movements, which is not, he was kind of Hitlerish. He had a fucking picture of Hitler on his wall, so he does not act like he was the best guy here.
No. Okay. So everybody has their downfalls.
Instead of giving to the
Lauren.
poor, he's given to the fucking
Listen.
Hitler movement, basically. So, Michael, you're a little wrong.
He took care of his crew. Took
Okay.
care of his crew, and he also took care of anybody else that was damaged.
Yeah.
It's a victimless crime, right? The bank reambushed all the people.
Dude, the ending to this one, you have to stick around. This is the best ending to any episode we've ever had.
It really is.
Hands down. This shit is like a movie fucking... I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
It sounds
It's like,
made up.
No way this happened.
Sounds made up.
Yep.
But our book was called.
Hold on, we got to do the intro.
Oh, we're doing the intro first. We're not talking about the book.
Don't you want to hear your intro?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right.
Cool.
You have achieved the break-in of the century. What were your great motivations? I don't have any family or ideological motivations that oblige me to live a settled life. And I've been looking for treasures my whole life. From age 12, I started thinking about that one treasure. That's all. You have, in inverted commas, relieved the Société Générale of almost 5 billion francs. Everything went well. The escape, however, now you're on the run. What's going to happen now? You mean my plans? That's it. The ones I can talk about or the ones I can't? Both, if you can. Right, the ones I can talk about. I'm going to continue smoking cigars and drinking Dom Perignon with the most beautiful girls in the world. In the most beautiful places in the world. In the most beautiful corners of the world. Travel to the most beautiful parts of the world. These are my immediate plans. Then, maybe in the short term, I'd like to stand trial in the Court d'Assises. If I find half a dozen lawyers who are crazy enough to go against justice. I don't know if you've noticed, but lawyers play the game of justice and walk with the law exactly like the prosecutor. If I find 6 that agree to go against the law, I will accept to stand trial. What if you get caught in the meantime? I'll try not to get caught, but if I really have to, then I'd like to get caught on the 24th floor of a tower. That would be a good ending. Like a parachutist? Like a parachutist. Like a parachutist.
He's Albus Baggiari, robbing banks and eating caviar, a megalomaniac. He'll be back to taunt the cops some more. He's Albus Baggiari, keeps his cool while smoking big cigars. No guns, no hate, but still got away with all still got away with all your golden bars.
Come embaixo, viu? Come embaixo, viu?
We'd like to give a big old American merci to 2 listeners that helped me with this translation, Noemi and Mariah. Thank you guys so much. Couldn't have done it without y'all.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
All right.
Okay, now I can talk about the
Now
book.
we can get into it.
Jeez, that intro took forever. All right, it's the book was called "The Bank Heist of the Century: Under the Streets of Nice."
It's spelt nice though, so it looks. When I first saw the book that Michael sent to me, I'm like, "Under the Streets of Nice." What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's French.
But it's a French term.
It's written by Ken Follet and Renee L. Maurice. And I'm sure we'll butcher some stuff. Just get over it, okay? We're gonna butcher some
This
stuff. But we're
book-
gonna do our best.
This book was awesome though.
It was
Awesome. One of my favorites.
excellent narrator.
Excellent
It's on
narrator.
Audible.
Excellent writer.
Not too long either. It's like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I listened to it almost twice. It was pretty good.
I really love the
bad.
book. I love the writing style. It was there was no. We always talk about made up conversations in books and a lot of.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky with this one because
There was none of that.
He
It was
talked a
all
lot.
factual.
yeah,
Yeah, but it was still like the writer would let you in his head a little bit in his thinking. Like you,
yeah, he would.
there was points where I would laugh out loud at shit that the writer would say. Like he would be explaining one of the cohorts of the main thief in this.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's talking
Yep.
about one of these people that he hired
Wasn't
to do
too
this.
bright.
Yeah, he's like to not put too fine of a tip on it. He was a dumbass. Basically.
Yeah,
he's
pretty
like
much.
he was stupid.
And you gotta like imagine it coming from this guy. This guy that reads it is obviously French.
Yeah, and he
you know,
sounds so
I
sophisticated.
mean, he has very good English
to not put
accent.
too
though.
fine of a tip on it. He was
Yeah.
stupid as hell.
Yeah, pretty much. He's so sophisticated and just like kind of snooty.
Picture his
It's really
pinky
funny.
out as he's saying it,
Yeah.
sipping some tea.
Sipping some tea, cross-legged in a
Yeah.
corner of a coffee shop in
Right.
Nice.
He was a dumb fuck.
He was.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But the main criminal in this,
Yeah, Albert Spaggiari.
Alberto
Right?
Spaggiari.
How are we doing? We're pretty close.
Oh, we're gonna
Albert
butcher it.
Spaggiari.
Even with everything spelled out for us, we're gonna still fucking butcher it.
Oh yeah, of course.
But this guy was fascinating.
He
And,
was very
man,
confident, megalomaniac though. That may be his only downfall that I could think of.
Yeah, he liked himself.
Yeah, he liked himself a lot.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I mean, to be fair, he did a lot of amazing things.
Yeah, he was the main conspirator behind the crime of the century, is what it was called at the time, or the heist of the century. The biggest heist that had been pulled in history to that point. Obviously, there's been bigger ones since, but
Right.
this is like some straight Italian job stuff, man. Going through sewers and breaking into pretty much so-called like
Unpenetrable
bank vault. Yeah, it's something
Wasn't
that they're. I won't get into it, but they're stupid. Like this bank was dumb.
You
I
think
mean,
so?
It's like it reminds me of the Titanic. Like this ship can't be sunk. Like first of all, you're jinxing yourself right there.
Yeah, they
This
are.
ship cannot be sunk. This
And
bank
then-
vault cannot be broken into. Like
Yeah.
we're not even going to get security cameras or an alarm system.
Or an alarm
because
system.
What's the point?
But to be fair, I mean, the door was like what 3 feet wide. Like
You don't have to go through the door.
Well,
obviously.
Well, obviously, we're gonna find that out.
Why would you go to the strongest point?
Well, I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's just, and also they put like this bank manager who we'll talk a little bit about, Pierre Bagou, who was he was kind of a badass in his own right, like an old rugby player, very big, fit guy, you know. So I think they thought that the bank was untouchable. Like you said, it was almost like a Titanic.
But to be honest though, like this bank is holding how much money in it? We don't even know. They don't even know.
my-
Like they stole like
Even the criminals didn't scratch the surface of what they could have got.
No, they got into what 300 out
400.
of 400 out of 4,000 security
Yes.
deposit boxes.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that percentage is, a tenth or something.
That's a 10%. Yeah.
Yeah. So they got into 10% of the security, and they still made away with millions upon millions upon millions upon millions
Yeah. That's
into the teens,
it was
high
the,
teens.
I
of
mean, it was the
millions.
biggest heist. Wasn't there like a big? What's the great
train
train
robbery.
robbery? The great train robbery wasn't even as big as this.
No.
The great train robbery was like 6 mil, something like that.
Yeah, it was it wasn't even 10. It
Right.
was like 8 million, I think. And
But to be fair, in
and
the
what-
time that it took place, though, I mean, Jesus Christ.
and just Alberto Spaggiari himself netted 20 mil. in today's dollars after selling his gold bars and everything. So just him
Right.
alone made away with twice as much as the train robbers made away with.
And he paid a whole crew.
But my point is, this bank, they have that they're holding this much valuables behind this. They can't get a fucking security camera. Like, come on, just come on.
Or an alarm, like alarm of any
Alarm
sort.
system. Come on, something.
Yeah.
How expensive would that be?
But they said that even the
Hedge your bets a little bit.
even like the insurance company who was like all about, obviously making it more and more safe.
Yeah.
They didn't even think that an alarm was necessary.
Yeah, usually they recommend all that stuff getting secure. They were
Yeah.
like, nah, this door, no one's
Like,
getting
nah,
through it.
that's fine.
But they weren't, they're
And it's concrete walls all the way around. They didn't. think-
yeah, it wasn't easy to access. Like besides the door, there was like rooms surrounding it and such, so it wasn't like easy to get in anywhere else either. But
Right.
obviously, where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. There's
And
a
all you
big
need is
vault,
one
too.
mastermind and a bunch of fucking dopes to get into it. So let's get into it. So yeah, the crime of the century occurred on July 19th, 1976. That's when this bank was broken into. The Societe, what is it? The Societe Generale.
General.
I feel like I need dip in my mouth to pull this off.
You do?
I need like a bunch of spit.
Oh, in the back of your mouth. Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm not like trying to offend French people, but they're
No, that was
freaking-
the hardest part about the book. If coming from an American standpoint, was the names. It's like I got everything else until they said names, and then I'm like, "What? Who is that? What
It
is
just
that?"
sounds like you're making like hacking noises.
Yeah, it was
Are you coughing?
that
Or you saying names?
phlegm and some sort of dessert. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you just said.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to start with the that day, July 19th, 1976, just how they came to realize that their bank had been robbed. A man by the name of Pierre Bagout, who was running the bank at the time, correct?
Right. Yep.
On Monday, January 19th, 1976, the main branch of the Société Générale in Nice was prepared to open its doors after a holiday weekend. It had been Bastille Day, which is like French. It's like French National Day.
Right. Great band.
They do fireworks and stuff. Yeah, I had to look at Bastille. Not a fan of that band.
No,
No, not at all.
I like his voice. I think he's got a cool
Is that
voice.
the,
Very
if you
versatile.
close your eyes? Is it that
Yeah.
Bastille?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does a lot of cool like stuff with like orchestras and stuff.
Do you think they're French?
Pretty
They
amazing.
must be, right?
I think they're from the UK.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Anyway, so that Monday morning after the long holiday weekend, 2 employees carried with them 2 large keys required to open the vault door that was over 50 years old and 3 feet thick. That's the other thing. Okay, this vault's unpenetrable, but you got to consider
The walls.
things progression,
Yeah.
age, and then also just things advance. Like maybe your old technology, you thought there's no way anyone could get into it, but now with lasers and all kinds of shit,
Right. When the strongest weapon was a revolver and everybody's walking around, it's like, okay.
they're trying to break in it with an axe or
3
something.
foot. Yeah.
Yeah, so 50 years old and 3 feet thick was this door. After inserting both keys and turning the locks, they pushed the door. They had to turn it in a certain fashion too. They do like 1 quarter turn and then a quarter turn back, and then the other
Right.
one had to do a quarter turn, a quarter. It was like, so it was,
And one person couldn't hold all the keys and all that
yeah, it
stuff.
was a sophisticated process getting this door open. You had to be trained just to be able to do it. They did it the way they were trained to do it. They pushed the door, and despite its weight, it should have opened effortlessly, and it wouldn't. They tried the keys again,
Right.
continued to try it. Their quarter turn.
I love this scene in the
Not
book
opening.
because, like, the bank's opened. I'm like, why not try to open the vault before the bank opens? That way you don't have people standing there wait to get to their security deposit boxes or whatever.
Right.
Because that's what was happening. Like, they're sitting here and they're trying it over and over again, and now there's just a big line. There's a bunch of smart asses in line, you can imagine.
Right. Don't you hate that when you've never?
trouble, Sir Bagoo.
I hate in life those moments where something occurs where you were never taught any troubleshooting. You're like, this is the way I was taught to do it, this
Yeah.
one way, and now it's not working. I don't know what the fuck
isn't
to do now. I have no backup process for this. No plan B here. I'm just gonna stand here like a dumbass and keep trying the
Right,
same
you just
fucking
keep
thing over.
Yeah, those moments are the worst. Like when you have a job where you're fairly new and you've
Yeah.
only been trained, like you said, one way. You haven't been trained in the troubleshooting because that happens on the job.
Yeah.
Right, and you're inevitably going to run into something like that.
Yeah.
And that's them in this.
It's
day.
happened with podcasting. I'm not gonna lie. If something happens
Yeah?
with a recording, over time I learned other ways to try. But yeah, you sit there pulling your hair out, like, why isn't it working?
Oh yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to work.
Or like when we finish and then we're like missing a part of the show or something. We're
Right.
like, what the fuck? What happened to it?
It happened last week, and now
Yeah.
after a while of doing this, I was able to find that piece of shit.
Yeah,
recording.
remember when I used to have to ride all the way back over here, or we would do Skype or something?
Seriously.
We're finally learning.
Yeah. So these employees, they keep trying the keys, and eventually they're like, all right, this ain't working. So they went to tell Pierre Bagout of what had happened, and he's starting to get concerned. It's just Monday morning, and already something's going wrong.
Right.
It's the bank. We need to get into this vault. People are going to come and want to hang out with their fucking gold and shit.
Yeah, whatever they do, they go in there. And there was like people that
Beat
went-
off the weird photos.
Yeah, they just spent like much time as they want in there.
It's false creepy.
That was fine. Like that was totally allowed. Like you can put whatever you want in there.
Yep, put whatever you want, and then once the security guards escorted you in and helped you open your box, they would leave you alone. And I think it was like kind of a lounge in
here's
there,
my
right? Didn't they have
thing.
like
So-
couches and you can hang out with your jewels or whatever?
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was-
Or your naughty pictures?
Just go in there and just count them. No, but it was like 3 rooms, right? The vault was like 3 rooms. But even so, I can't imagine you'd have that much privacy. I mean, what if another person shows up and you're in there with your dirty pictures or whatever?
Awkward. Could you have multiple? Like, I don't know if that was a thing. Do you have to, could multiple people be in there at the same time, hanging out with their goods?
You would have to. If you don't have put a time limit on how long somebody can stay in there, I feel like you would have to allow multiple people in
It didn't
there.
sound like the 3 rooms were separated by any walls or doors either,
No.
did it? It was like kind of like just chambers.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know how that works. If somebody else walked in, oh, awkward. And you got like all these gold bars out on the table and shit.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nice stuff there, bro.
Yeah.
No security cameras either. So I don't know. It's just weird to
Yeah.
me that they didn't even have cameras inside. Like you'd think you'd want to keep an eye on these people, what they're doing in there.
It's invasion of privacy, man. They promise privacy. They promise privacy and security, if not anything else.
Because some of the stuff that was in these boxes it wasn't just gold bars, diamonds, or cash. A lot of these people were hiding their darkest secrets in those boxes, man. When we found that out after it got broken into, and some of the stuff that ended up posted on the wall in there,
Oh,
some
yeah.
pictures that were from some high ups in
That's right. That's
in
right.
Nice.
That was really interesting.
Right. Excellent. This is a weird transition, but I just want to bring up how good this crime line is, and that we do have a new crime line writer, and I want to thank Sarah S., our new crime line writer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. This
Yeah,
thing looks
it's
amazing.
it just kind of happened. It's one of my best friend's fiance and also a friend. Like in my circle of friends, she heard that we lost ours, and she suggested maybe she could do it, and I was like, hell yeah! You seem like the type of person that would do a thorough, great job, and this first one is
And
a
you were correct.
masterpiece. Absolute
It
masterpiece.
looks amazing.
Yeah. So Sarah S., thank you.
It's definitely on par with Michelle K., which is saying a lot.
Yes.
Very
and
good.
on par with mine, which says a lot.
What? No, I'm just kidding.
Pat myself on
That's
the
a
back.
good old pat right there.
No, hers is better. This is better than any I did for sure. Okay, so yeah, back to it. The 2 employees told Pierre Bagul. He went over to the door. He tried it himself. It didn't work. And at that point, he called in people who were experts in opening these doors. This had happened once before, so he wasn't in a complete panic mode yet.
Right.
Bagul. One time, the door had been stuck, and a technician came
Just oiled it up or
and
whatever.
oiled it up, and it worked. So he figured that would be the same
Sprayed some
thing.
French WD-40 in there, and they were good to go.
Right.
Yeah.
It was 8:30 that they realized the door wouldn't open, and by 10 a.m., technicians arrived and were working on the door. Customers that had already arrived to hang out with their goods were instructed to return later that day that the door had been stuck. It was determined that the door was stuck from the inside. However, the technicians, they said, we're doing everything right. This door is unlocking.
Right. The locks are
The
working
mechanism
fine.
is working, but something is holding this door from opening from the inside.
Right.
And he must have been, something must have sunk in like, something right
Dude,
now. This is
Your heart has got to sink if you're Mr. Bagoo right now, man.
like, how could this be?
Oh, my
Like,
God.
everything up here, like there was no damage to the door.
Right.
They're thinking, no, if something happened, it didn't happen here. This door didn't get opened.
Exactly.
And so they realized they have to go through the wall.
And these are
Which
not...
tells
these are,
you something about their
and this is
security,
not sheetrock
right?
and wood, though. This is not sheetrock and wood, to be fair. This is a
understand.
serious wall.
I understand, but what I talked about earlier, like, okay, this door is impenetrable. Why would you go through the hardest part of it? They even know that. They even go through the fucking wall when it came down to it. Okay,
Yeah.
we can't get through the door. We're gonna go through the wall.
Right.
What do you think a fucking criminal would think?
But they went through the wall inside the locked bank.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because there was probably security cameras in the bank, like in the lobby in that area where the vault entrance was, but there was just no security inside the vault.
Yeah.
They didn't expect someone to come in from another way inside the vault.
Yeah, so a small hole, 3 hours later, 3 p.m., a small hole was finally opened in the wall, and they were able to look inside, and that's when they saw the horror.
Oh my God!
Bagu's worst nightmare, that this place had been absolutely torn apart. They just saw just a complete mess in there. 15 minutes later, every important policeman in Nice was inside the Société Générale. The vault.
Nailed it.
The vault consisted of 3 interconnected rooms, and they feared the robbers may be trapped inside, so they had to go in ready for some sort of a confrontation between the robbers.
Because the robbers went in through the door, sealed the door from the inside, and just stayed in there.
Yeah.
That's what they would have done.
Well, you never know. Maybe they just miscalculated how long they were in there. Maybe they
Maybe they took a nap. Yeah, maybe they got drunk, passed out.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, but that, of course, that wasn't. They were gone.
No.
Yeah, the hole was not large enough to permit a small adult, so the most petite detective there was elected to go through the hole and face confrontation if it happens.
Right.
Pierre Leroc.
He faced a little
no.
bit of confrontation getting into the hole.
Pierre Lecoq,
Yeah.
even though it's spelled Lecoq. Tried to wiggle through the hole, but his pants got caught on the jagged edge.
He was like, fuck pants.
Right.
I don't need pants.
So now he's confronting these robbers pantsless.
Pantsless. Let's hope he doesn't have his tool belt on those pants, man. He's
Hey,
going to be in trouble.
No one's getting into a struggle with a guy with no pants on, especially if he's got a boner. It's no one wants to
You think
tango
he's got a
with
boner after climbing through a bank vault
him.
wall?
I'm saying,
Why
if he
would
happened to, I'm never tangoing
Oh.
with anybody that's got a boner.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to go well.
Okay.
So he goes through. He loses his pants on the way in because this is some jagged ass hole that they cut for him to get through. Luckily, his gun was in a shoulder holster, not on his waist.
Right.
It was determined that the vault was empty, and what he found was equally impressive and sickening. Safety deposit box doors hung open, and the floor of the vault was covered in 6 inches of documents. Among them found were uncanceled checks, bearer bonds, stocks, wills, and deeds. Tons of valuable pieces of paper that were all over the floor.
Right.
It was estimated that the documents on the floor had been discarded as trash and were worth at least $1 million. Out of the paper poked muddy tools. Estimated weight of 2 tons worth of tools were inside the bank vault still. So the robbers had left a lot of stuff behind.
They had some heavy equipment for this, too.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean-
Oxygen, acetylene tanks, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff can add up quick.
Crowbars, chisels, drills, blowtorches, axes, and like you said, acetylene tanks. We know about those.
Yeah.
The vault door was welded shut from the inside. So that would explain the vault door opening. Its
Exactly.
mechanical parts working but not opening. The remains of a picnic, including wine bottles, a portable stove, were simply discarded on the floor. And most offensively of all, silver heirloom bowls sat on the floor filled with shit. So they'd even left feces behind.
They shit in silver heirloom bowls. Like, they're such badasses.
Right.
They just pissed in bottles, left them there.
Yep.
But they all pissed in, like, the same bottles.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. How it seemed like there was plenty of evidence behind to catch these people, to catch these people, right? They left their own piss and shit behind. They left their tools behind, like plenty of traceable stuff. You would think was left behind, but it was not that simple because they were smarter crooks than that. At least the mastermind behind it was.
Right.
Partway up one of the walls, which was usually occupied by a 3-ton cabinet or safety deposit boxes, was a tunnel. So one of the giant cabinet safety deposit box walls was pushed to the side, exposing a hole where apparently these criminals had gotten in.
And that cabinet was
30,000 pounds or something like that.
30
tons. Or it was.
I want to say it was 30 tons because he planned for 60 tons.
Yeah.
He brought tools to move something that was 60 tons somehow. I guess a certain jack or something.
And it's interesting how he found out how much those weighed. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
The mastermind behind this knew how much those cabinets weighed, and he found out through a security guard at the bank just by sheerly asking him.
Right.
I just couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut.
Supposedly.
Right.
But the guy that he said he spoke to had passed. So they were never able to confirm that.
No, I think that's a different guy. I think he was literally in the bank. We'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll get to it later.
All right.
So the mastermind behind this, let's get to him and do our upbringing with him. That's, people like to hear
Right.
how this mastermind came to be. He was born December 14th, 1932. Shares a birthday with Nostradamus.
He does. The great poet from France.
Perfect.
That is. It's very fitting.
Although we had to scroll through page after page of 5-year-old YouTube stars.
Yeah, when you look up famous birthdays
stupid.
December 14th, he's like number 46 out of a bunch of. I literally heard of one person before him, Vanessa Hudgens.
These YouTube stars are getting out of control, dude. We need to keep our kids away from YouTube. It's
Do we?
becoming an epidemic.
Or we're like.
These
or we're
YouTubers
like-
are filling these little kids' heads full of bullshit.
Yeah, but you don't think they were saying this like a couple generations ago where they were like,
These damn kids.
These TV stars are getting out of control. The radio is where it's at. The radio personalities is what the real art is.
Hey.
Here we are now. We're doing it. We're doing the same thing, man.
Oh, boy.
Oh, well, we don't have to accept the times. We're getting older.
But, I mean, come on. Nostradamus should be ahead of a fucking YouTube star. I'm sorry.
Definitely.
It should be like one, then Vanessa Hudgens, because she was also December 14th, and then the 5-year-old YouTube star.
The number one was a 5-year-old YouTube star.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
It really is.
So he was born December 14th, 1932 in southeast France. His father died when he was 2.5 years old, and he was raised by his mother, who ran and opened a successful lingerie store after
His mother
after his
was
father.
quite the independent woman. Like, she really didn't need anybody.
And you can,
I think
yeah,
she just did it for company and, you know.
I think you could see
Support.
a lot of young Albert in his mother. I think
Absolutely.
she was a go-getter. I think he got her genetics in that sense, that he was very motivated.
Right.
Always, even from the time he was a young child.
Right, because his father died when he was 2.
Yeah, so we don't know
Right.
much about him, but you can see his mom was fiery, and she just went and made her own way everywhere, which was not that common for that time.
Right, we're talking, what, late 1930s?
Right. When he was in primary school, his mother remarried, and Albert hated his stepfather. He was said to be a thoroughly average student, but he had a passion for literature, mainly adventure and politics, which I just don't understand being in
You don't understand that?
being in
elementary
primary
school?
school and being into politics. Like, what
Well,
the
right,
fuck do you
because
know
those-
about politics at all?
Well, those are probably the most popular and most influential and famous people of that time. I mean, you don't have YouTube, so
Yeah.
you don't have you don't have those stars polluting the famous people list.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not saying YouTubers don't deserve to be on the list, though. Never mind.
He became obsessed with stories about Salvatore
You nailed it.
Giuliano.
Yeah.
Salvatore Giuliano.
Giuliano. There you go.
He was a Sicilian bandit who rose to prominence in the disorder of the Allied occupation in Sicily in 1943. Young Albert fantasized about meeting Salvatore, and at age 16, he ran away from home and headed for Italy. Although he didn't make it to Italy because he didn't make it through customs. This shocker, this young kid
Right. Oh,
with no
sure.
parents, just kind of run away.
This is interesting that he looked up to this guy, though, at such a young age.
Yeah.
I think he was looking for any sort of father figure, and I think he admired someone who kind of played by their own rules. You know what I mean? We could do an episode on this guy.
Right.
I looked into him a little bit. Like, this seems pretty interesting.
Salvatore Giuliano.
Yeah. Might look into him in the future.
He had left a note when he ran away this time. He had left a note on the kitchen table when he departed for Italy, which said, "The end justifies the means," obviously written in French. At the
Right.
time. This would be a common theme in Spaghieri's life. He joined the army at the age of 18 in 1950, and he was sent to Vietnam, which at the time was still occupied by France and not yet by the U.S. There's a lot of conflict at that time. I looked into that too. That was the Indochina Wars.
Right.
France was occupying him. They didn't want him there. It was all a lot of that bullshit.
Right.
Spaghieri was on the occupying side. He was always on the side of the white-born French people that were occupying places. He was right-wing politics.
Yeah.
He thought that they basically were the superior race. It seems that they should just be able to occupy whatever they want.
Yeah, that part about him was not so cool.
No, not so much.
Not so cool.
He enjoyed traveling in Asia, and the environment of oppression helped to develop his right-wing extremism even more.
Yeah, I could see that.
It turned out Spaghieri was very bad at taking orders from people, and because of this, he never obtained a rank higher than corporal while in the military. And that's a very common theme.
The author talked about this a lot. He blamed it mostly on his father dying at 2. And then he couldn't accept this other male figure, and he only saw this other male figure as a disciplinary.
Yeah.
So apparently this father...
He didn't respect him.
Right, he didn't respect him, but he also didn't feel any love from this stepfather. So it's like, I think sons especially look to their father, they look to him for discipline and guidance, but they also look to him to do it in love, because it's somebody who cares about you. Like, you realize that as a son. You're like,
You're getting
man, my
disciplined
dad really wants me to be better than him. But with this stepdad, I don't think he got that.
The discipline is for a reason, because your dad wants the best out of you.
Exactly. But he felt like the discipline from the stepdad was just to control him.
Right.
And he didn't like that.
Right.
And he always thought that he knew better as he got older.
Yeah, and then it kind of came out when he was in the military. He didn't like authority. He never liked authority, especially if he didn't necessarily respect the people or see things the same way as them. He only respected people that were high up in these movements, in these right-wing political movements.
Exactly.
We'll see that
People
later.
going against the grain. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a common theme with these episodes, where it's almost always the person we focus on. It seems like they'll join the military at some point, and then they just don't. They leave. Like, either they get kicked out,
Almost
or they leave on
always,
their
yeah.
own accord because they just can't handle being told what to do.
Yep. And that doesn't even matter about nationality. It seems like.
It seems like
it's
almost every serial killer
yeah.
we've done, they've joined the military briefly and then either got kicked out or they left.
Absolutely. Or got discharged for some reason. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
In 1954, he was at Saigon at a brothel in Saigon with other soldiers when a fight broke out with a madame. The other soldiers left at this point, but Spaghieri stayed behind to rob the cash box.
Might as well, right? Everybody's incapacitated.
Yeah, he and some of his fellow soldiers were sent home in the hull of the ship in chains. He was in jail until 1957, at which point he went home to his mother. So
He spent 3 years in jail.
yeah, so I get there's talk that maybe she had stolen from them, the madame, and that he didn't think it was right when they got kicked out, so he stayed behind and like supposedly stole the money back that she had stolen from them in the first place.
That sounds a little
knows?
more accurate because he wasn't one to pick on an individual person.
No.
He more so was after victimless crimes, or at least he thought so. Like for instance, like with the bank robbery,
It's insured.
he knew that it was all insured. All those people are going to get their money because he didn't take anything that couldn't be replaced, like bonds and certificates and stuff. He didn't take none of that shit.
Well, he didn't take it because it was more traceable too, though.
Yeah, that's true. But you'll see. Well, I think we'll see throughout. He looked out for little people too, throughout the process. As long as they were white or French,
Meanwhile,
of
he's
course.
got a fucking Hitler picture on his
Yeah, that's what I said. As long as they're white and French, of course. He's another French Nazi sympathizer. Remember Marcel Patois?
Yeah, Patois.
I
I think that was more self-preservation in the Patois case, though. Like
Yeah.
he knew that if he didn't like get in with them, that he was a goner too.
Yeah, he was more of a do whatever it takes to survive.
He was like
weasel.
a rat, just fucking
Yeah.
stepping on the other rats.
Exactly. But Spaggiari, he just was a megalomaniac.
Right.
He just thought he was superior.
Yeah. Around this time, Albert met his wife, Od. Shortly,
Which was her surname, which he called her OD all the time.
that was her last name, right?
Yeah.
And then he just
Interesting.
He preferred to call her by that.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, and she was a nurse and described as a small, plain woman with dark hair and dark eyes. She had a brisk walk, precise, rapid movements, much like a nurse would. She had strong character and a winning charm, and he always stayed with her, right, all the way to the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
They seem like a good fit.
pretty loyal guy, Albert.
Yeah, they seem like a good fit together, though.
did.
I think he wanted a woman that could take care of herself. He's out robbing banks. He's got shit to do. Like, run your own nursing thing over here. We'll launder our money through here. We're good.
Hey, that's the yin and yang of a good relationship, right?
I guess so. It worked for them for
Yeah.
years.
And apparently they had an understanding in that they were both loyal to each other, but not faithful to each other. So there must have been some little side action going on as well.
Yeah, maybe open relationship.
It seems, I don't know, maybe I'm just stereotyping, but it seems like a French thing.
I don't think he.
They're just kind of like pretty liberal about sex over there, aren't they? Everybody just walks around topless. And just kind of,
a lot of new beaches and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like it's becoming more accepted, though,
yeah.
overall. We're one of the few species that.
Oh my guy needs to make his way
Monogamy
over
is-
there with all the armpit hair, the excessive armpit hair over there.
You think so? You think they're still doing that over there?
Oh yeah, I think so.
No, I think they're shaving by now.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm sure there's still people who have a fetish for it.
French people, oh my
That's
guy,
fine.
hit it up.
Yeah.
Never go over there. I don't want to
Yeah.
smell your stinky pits.
Right. We need somebody to translate our "Oh my God" ad for them, though.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Audi's career as a nurse provided them with only real financial stability in their lives because, like you said, he was out trying to find scams to do. And
Right.
It wasn't the most consistent means of income. When he hit big. And
Hell
maybe it
yeah.
was like security forever after that point, but he's trying to find the ultimate score here.
Right.
Albert's fortunes were uneven, and he found it hard to resist the call of adventure, which kind of made their relationship not on and off, but like they weren't always together because they actually would run off together though. Mm-hmm. On a whim, at one point, they decided to move to Senegal, Africa, where he worked as a coppersmith. They never achieved the fortune that he intended to build and moved back to France in 1960. There, they settled in Nice and lived in the working class section of town. Od was able to open her own practice as a nurse while Albert tried his hand at real estate. This, as with many other ventures, was not successful as well.
Yeah, he's probably just scoping out houses.
He's doing these jobs while he's looking for his next scam.
Oh yeah, this is just he's just killing time with this other stuff just to keep, I think, probably, tax people off his back and things like that. I don't think that any of this was ever a plan.
Right.
I think he could have been great in real estate. He probably could have been great in anything. I mean, the dude can talk his way out of
But
anything.
he didn't want your standard 9-to-5 job.
No, I think that would be considered given up to him.
Yeah.
In a way.
During this time, the political climate heated up. European countries were beginning to distance themselves from countries that were once colonies. This led to open conflict in Algeria, which had once been a French colony, where Algerian-born whites fought against decolonization, and he was obviously on the side of the colonization, not the decolonization.
Right.
And so organizations sprung up to support both sides, and Spaggiari joined the OAS, which supported the white Algerians. Their outlook was very militant, and they had severely right-wing beliefs. He tried to join the elite squad within the group, but he was deemed too unsuitable to be trusted, which was a common theme in Spaggiari's life.
Yeah,
And that he must have come off really strong at first with people.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're like, this guy's a little too into it. I don't know, man.
Well, and I think he also
get us
went
caught.
into every situation trying to be the boss too.
Yes.
And people didn't like that. You can't approach a boss with a boss attitude and expect him to hire you because he's looking at you going like, this motherfucker ain't gonna listen to a damn thing I say.
Right.
Like, why would you hire this megalomaniac?
It worked for the British
He's
chick
a
in the
wild
office
card.
when she came in and just took the manager's seat, remember?
Yeah. Well, Robert California did the same thing. It was like 2 in a row that just said like, I'm the manager, and then they're the manager.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
But it would turn
Hire me.
In real life, it turns people off, and that's what kept happening to Spaggiari.
Yeah. In Scranton, Pennsylvania is the only place that works, apparently.
In 1961, Spaggiari traveled to Spain and met with a well-connected right-wing extremist. He offered his service and made it known that he would carry out any operation this man saw fit. So he really believed in this guy and really was like, dude, I'll do anything for you. In November of that year, he sent a dramatic letter stating that he was ready and waiting to assassinate French President Charles de Gaulle, who was, I don't know if I said that right at all, sorry. He was hated by right-wing extremists after being elected and abandoning many of his right-wing views and leanings. That doesn't sound like a politician. Saying one thing and then becoming elected and then doing totally opposite of what they were talking about.
He's never going to have a good campaign doing that.
Right.
Right? Nobody does that. Tell the truth out there.
Albert prepared for the operation and was in place to successfully assassinate de Gaulle. But
This scene was kind of tense.
I mean,
was like, what? He's
knew,
going to kill somebody?
He knew the path of the motorcade, right, which is how a lot of assassinations happen.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the
Kennedy.
Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke that got killed that started World War I. It was a very similar thing. They knew that the motorcade was coming out and
Right.
the first attempt failed, and then they ended up backtracking right in front of the assassinator, and he got him.
But I feel like this
Crazy.
attempt is more Kennedy-esque with the whole, like, with the, in a convertible and waving. It was a rainy day or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, he was in position. He was ready.
But he didn't have the go-ahead, and for once he actually didn't do something
didn't do it
when an authority figure told him not to do it.
Yeah, he must have really respected this guy.
Yeah,
you're right.
He did not pull the trigger because he had not been ordered to do so. However, he was arrested shortly after this for involvement with the OAS and was released in 1966. And it's crazy to note that he spent 4 years in prison. However, the other people that were arrested with him in connection with the OAS spent like no time. I think they got fines, but for whatever reason, Albert ended up spending 4 years. So they must have seen him as much more dangerous.
Well, he also had a record. He's already had a 3-year stint in prison.
Yeah, so we're looking at like a
with other
three-strike
misdemeanors and shit. I don't know what they call them in France, but
right.
So he spent. I mean, he still only spent 5 here. It's not bad for trying to assassinate the president, working with a
Yeah, I
militant
don't know if
group.
they knew, but do you think they knew that he was trying to assassinate the president, or that he just was involved with the OAS?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe not.
If he spent 4 years, maybe they did find something out about that, or they just knew he was a more dangerous.
Or maybe he bragged about it.
person.
Shit.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, I could have killed him. Whatever. He's like I said, he was a megalomaniac. He wasn't afraid.
Yeah, I can picture him like smoking a cigarette and bragging about that.
Yeah.
I almost killed him, the president.
I could have took off with his head if I wanted to.
Spaggiari returned to his wife and opened up a photography shop. And he would continue to do photography, and that's how
liked photography.
And he got connected because of his photography. He ended up being like the unofficial photographer for the mayor, right? In Nice
For the town.
Yeah.
Like everybody in Nice. Yeah, there was a lot of people. If they knew if you wanted good pictures, you go to Spaggiari.
Yeah, he continued to socialize and network with right-wing extremists all over Europe. He even cozied up to neo-Nazi organizations, and this is where the Hitler picture on his wall comes
Didn't
up.
see that coming.
And all that. So I think he spent some time in Germany and really just further developed his extremism.
No, great, perfect place.
In 1972, he bought a farmhouse outside of Nice, which he fixed up and completely remodeled. Him and his wife raised chickens at their farm, although Spaggiari became somewhat opposed to the violence and insisted that his wife OD take the chickens to the butcher.
He just didn't want to get dirty.
rather than killing them
He's
himself.
a fancy criminal.
Right?
He's a fancy criminal. You know what I mean? Like he's like the George Clooney of like Ocean's 11 or whatever.
Right.
Like he's the smooth guy.
Yeah.
He's not cutting off chicken heads and shit.
Right.
Like I remember my grandfather, like he did the old sling around with the neck thing in front of me one time. That was pretty crazy. I couldn't look away though. It's like one of those things you just can't look away. You see that chicken body running around, and you're like, fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and he eventually rented out his photography shop and moved to the farmhouse permanently. In 1974, a friend of his named Gerard Rang, a nightclub owner, was under surveillance by police. He was forging checks, and it was speculated that he had help from Spaggiari, who had all the necessary tools at his photography shop. Rang would figure heavily in the heist, so he would use this guy later.
Weren't they
in the heist.
making like full checkbooks?
Yeah.
These guys were. Like they
At
were
his
not fucking
photography
around.
shop?
Yeah. Like they were making like full checkbooks and just blank checks all over France.
So maybe that's why he rented out his photography shop and got out of it because they were onto him.
Yeah,
Moved
maybe.
to the farmhouse permanently.
Yeah.
Also of note, in 1974, Spaggiari opened a safety deposit box at the Société Générale.
Oh, did he?
And that's where he said that the moment he walked into that bank, he knew he was going to try and rob it.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't hear that in the book? He said the first time he walked in there, he was like, "Yep, I'm going to rob this place."
I'm going to rob this. He probably says that about every bank, to be fair.
And the fact that they let them stay in the vault with all the security boxes and stuff, and the security guard would leave, and they'd give them the privacy you talked about.
Right.
That just gives them all the time in the world to sit there and try and plan how they're going to rob it.
It really
You know,
does.
to start making measurements and
Yeah.
right, here's where I'll
Check
come
out
in.
everything. Yeah.
You know, I could just picture him. I mean, he supposedly he only checked in twice. However, that's like according to because you'd have to log yourself
That's
in.
according to the sign-in sheet.
Right.
But,
But he told the police
Spaggiari,
that he went in there a bunch of times to plan this. So who knows?
I don't know. He may have went into the bank a bunch of times, but I don't know if he went into the vault because, I mean, why wouldn't he sign in? I feel like if you didn't sign in, that would raise flags
Yeah.
to the security guard. They're not going to let you in. And he was not the type of person to be causing a big scene.
Right. I can just picture him though in the vault sitting there drawing maps of how he's going to rob it.
Yeah. And people come in, he doesn't even care. He just leaves it stretched out on the table.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm going to rob this place.
Right. So let's recap Spaggiari's character a little bit. Why was he so aloof and extremist? The book speculated that maybe it was because of his father dying at 2.5.
They put a lot of weight on that. A lot.
Well, the fact that he a lot of times when when you lose your father figure at a young age, hopefully something fills that void, whether it be an uncle or some other family member or a neighbor, another male figure steps in and kind of gives you that
Right. But if
discipline and love.
Okay, but if somebody doesn't, like in Spaggiari's case, how do you know you're missing it? If you never had it, how do you know you're missing it?
When you start acting
do you
crazy.
does every male just need that? Is that what you're saying? Like every male needs that figure to
No, but some.
Okay.
Obviously, not everyone who lost a father at a young age and didn't have anyone fill that void turned out to be a bank robber or a killer.
Right.
However, in some cases, it could affect other people more than others. You know, everyone's different.
Right. I just don't see it playing.
The book's just trying to
much.
speculate why he became what he is. Is it nature or nurture?
Yeah.
He hated his stepfather and had no figure or strong male influence.
Not well, you had Hitler, so
And so what ended up filling the void for
Yeah.
like father figures were terrible figures like Hitler and Giuliani.
yeah.
Those were the men that he ended up looking up to.
Yeah, not the mayor though.
Right. But that was way later when he came in contact with the mayor, started taking his photographs for him and shit.
Yeah,
His
yeah.
character was already what it was going to be.
Right, absolutely.
So his plans for the bank start to unfold. Like we said, the first time he stepped into the bank, he knew he wanted to rob it. He began to examine the bank and find its weaknesses. When he realized that the plan in his head appeared to be viable, he set out to do a little research. In later testimony, he stated that he spent 6 evenings going into the sewers and learning them like the back of his hand. He already had a map of the city sewer lines. How he obtained these was from the city themselves. They gave
Yeah,
him.
they just give them to him.
Yeah, he pretended to be a developer to gain access to these plans with all of the city drawings, the sewer lines, all that stuff. And he realized while doing his research that it was possible to access an underground road from an entrance a little over a mile away from the bank.
Right. And he did this in the ruse of he was going to build an underground club.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're wondering why, because you can just go online probably and find this stuff. But in that time, you actually had to have a reason. You couldn't just walk in there and be like, "Can I have the plans to the sewers, please?"
Right. But
So-
man, you could just submit plans for an underground club though too. That's pretty cool.
I mean, you can plan it. You're still going to have to go through all the.
Right.
They figure like he's got to go through all the inspections and all that stuff. He's not going to get far if it's not up to par.
Yeah. So yeah, he finds this access to an underground road, which would get him a lot closer to the bank. You could actually drive vehicles down in there, which would help get all their tools closer to the bank
Right.
and to the sewers. He also discovered a maintenance room located in an underground parking garage that led into this road. There were security cameras in the garage. So this garage maintenance room had a fucking security camera. Mm-hmm. But the bank, with the greatest
But-
fault in the world, couldn't have some.
Right. But even that security camera was bullshit because you could just park a car in front of it
Yeah.
and block it.
How's the movie not been made exactly about that? Maybe it has. I don't know. Like we didn't get to really watch any documentaries because everything's in French.
Right.
Maybe there is a cool movie made about this one, but I feel like a lot of movies took parts of what they did and kind of mixed them in, like, the Italian Job and those type of heist
Yeah,
movies.
that's the movie that came to mind to me,
It
too.
just feels like there's parts that remind you of this case.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because what they did was they discovered that you could just block the camera in this maintenance room with a car
Right.
and then do your thing.
Exactly.
It's unclear how he knew that the vault did not have an alarm. He made up 2 different stories during his deposition later on. Neither of them seemed entirely possible. One of them was an alarm clock. He later said that leading up to the heist, he put an alarm clock inside his safety deposit box
Yeah.
and set it to go off in the middle of the night when the bank was closed.
Right.
And it was supposed to make a loud noise and vibrate. And if there was any kind of, sensitive alarm that would sense noise or motion or vibration, that it would go off. And he sat across the street when that alarm clock went off and observed that he didn't hear any alarm go off. No one responded to anything. And that's how he knew there was no alarm.
But do you think that would even set off an alarm, being inside a box, a safe deposit box?
Certain alarms that are very high-tech and sensitive, even during this time, back then, I think, yeah, maybe. But
Okay.
I don't think it was a definitive
It's
answer as
definitely
to
not-
whether it had an alarm or not, for
I
sure.
definitely wouldn't bank my safety on it. If
Right.
I was going to rob the bank, I wouldn't.
For a guy that
I
dotted
wouldn't
his
count on
eyes
that. Yeah.
and crossed his T's all the time, it seems unlikely
This-
that he
this-
didn't know another way.
This seems like one of the magic tricks he didn't want to allude to.
Well, he then said that he had a neighbor who happened to work at the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and he became acquainted with him, and this guy gave him all this information and told him that there
Mm.
wasn't an alarm and all that stuff, which also seems unlikely that he just happened to have a neighbor that was
Yeah.
a loudmouth fucking banker at the bank that he wanted
That
to rob.
seems rare. Yeah, that seems rare.
Right. It's possible he knew somebody on the inside,
It is. Or possible that he paid off someone on the inside
Yeah.
and then had them killed.
Yeah. Now, well, the guy that he was talking about, he gave a name for this banker neighbor that
Yeah.
supposedly gave him all this information. And the guy did work for the bank, and then he had died.
Yeah, I know.
So
That's what I'm
it's like-
saying. Like, isn't that weird?
Right? Isn't that weird?
Isn't that weird?
Now, Spaggiari needs a crew. This would be a difficult task. This was proved to be the most difficult task of this whole thing, was finding a crew, and then it ended up, of course, being his downfall.
Right.
First, he thought that maybe the Marseille mob, which was real well known during this time, would be able to carry this out for him and then do the dirty work if he gave them the idea and pitched it to him. So he went to them.
They was like, nah, dude.
Well, they liked
You were a
it.
wild card, though.
He actually took them through the whole thing, drove them down there, showed them the underground road, showed them
Yeah.
how he was planning to do this. And after examining it, they're like, this would work, but we don't like you. So
Yeah, we don't
we
trust
we don't
you.
trust you. We don't like you. We're not going to do it for you.
Supposedly. That's what they said.
Supposedly. And so that went out the window. And now more people know about his plan, which is not good as well.
Right.
Yeah. However, actually, we didn't talk about the fact that before they even said no, the first thing when he said, I have this idea for a heist that I want to pull, and I'm going to need a mason for it, along with your other guys, they said, okay, we have a mason. However, he's locked up. And if you want access to him, you're going to have
right.
to you're going to have to bail him out of jail.
Yeah.
So we need, it was like several $1,000s he had to put up in order to get their mason guy out of jail.
So he gets that guy out of jail, and they still say no.
Yeah, he gets him out of jail, and then they still turn down his pitch for this heist. However, he did get one thing out of it because the mason now felt loyal to him for
Yes.
having him getting him out of there,
Word.
and so he had a mason now. So there was something that came out of it.
This Mason was a pretty interesting character too. His father owned a local construction business, and his father wanted him to take over that, but he realized that his skills were more useful with criminals. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, how useful, other than this specific heist, how useful is a mason to crime? I guess they were. I don't know. I guess they were doing a lot of shit with brick walls and
Busting
stuff back
through
in the day.
concrete, man. That's where all
I
the good stuff
guess.
is.
I guess. I just can't see having a mason would be that beneficial.
You got to
I feel
have
like
your
anybody
mason,
can bust
your-
through concrete.
You got to have your mason, your explosive guy. You got to have your
Yeah.
vault cracker. It's like every good
Right. You got to have your lookouts.
heist movie.
You got to. You got to have your electrical guy that hot wires stuff.
right. You got to have your badass driver.
Right. Your explosives expert.
Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
yeah.
All right. Fine then.
Nowadays, you got to have the computer expert to hack into the security
shit,
system.
yeah.
But back then, that wasn't necessary because they
Right.
didn't have a security system. So he's trying to gather his crew, but he's finding it difficult because everyone he talks to doesn't really seem to want to work with him, isn't interested in doing this heist with him, and he's telling more and more people about it. And it seemed like everyone in the criminal underworld in Nice knew about his plans to
Yeah, he might as well be putting it on the dark
Bulletins.
web Craigslist or some shit. Everybody knew about this.
yeah, you might as well just put up bulletins at every corner store.
Yeah.
Fucking partners needed in heist.
Right.
It's amazing that the police didn't find out, knowing that they were connected with the criminal underworld. They were constantly talking to different criminals trying to find out what was going on.
It had tons of
And
informants.
Word never got out. Somehow, that's it. Afterwards, it was like, how the hell did you guys?
But they
not know?
probably, a lot of these people probably thought this was all bullshit. They're like, you're not gonna rob the Societe Generale.
Yeah.
No way, man. Get out of here.
Very few names of Spaggiari's crew are known to the public still to this day because of a law in France, which we don't have here, but it's illegal for someone to be named publicly in connection with a crime until they have been convicted of it. So the fact that most of the people never got convicted
It's
in
a good
this,
thing we'd have said y'all's names out here. I don't care.
we'll talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah, we
don't
would
give a shit.
mispronounce these shit out of them.
Yeah. As such, Spaggiari took the names of his crew to the grave. He had
He's loyal, man. Like we said,
Yeah.
loyal. Not faithful, but loyal.
He may have been a sewer rat, but he wasn't a rat.
Right. Nice.
Once he had a crew, he had set where the guys that he did gather a crew weren't known to be the best criminals or the smartest criminals by any means. He took what he could get.
It seemed like the smartest criminals wouldn't deal with him.
Right. Which became a problem.
You know what? I think that would have been too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't get a bunch of brainiacs all together. You can't get a bunch of masterminds to do it because, like I said, it's like having an all-star team.
He might have liked the fact that he had dummies because then they would just listen to him without arguing or
Right.
not being an issue.
Exactly.
They had their clear leader. It was Spaggiari.
Right.
That's the way he liked it.
Yep.
He would begin to gather all of his supplies for the heist and start getting to work. All of his supplies were purchased at large stores whenever possible in small quantities all over Europe. So he would have his guys just spread out, go to these different stores, buy common items. He made sure not to buy anything that was very rarely purchased.
Right.
That way he knew the police were going to come questioning.
Right. Get the most mass-produced pickaxe.
Yeah.
Make sure everything, is sold in multiple stores and stuff like that. And then a lot of the stuff, these guys were criminals. So if they could steal it, they stole it.
Yeah.
It's the only way not to trace it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So this is some of the stuff that they gathered. Several canvas bags for carrying tools. They got those from a department store in Milan. 10 pairs of Swedish steel scissors from Belgium. 20 small hammers. 12 large hammers and trowels. 30 assorted chisels. A roll of plastic bags. 6 charges of dynamite. 3 acetylene torches. Wheelbarrow and several buckets for excavating the tunnel. Wooden beams for supporting the roof of the tunnel. So thinking of everything, dude. Even supporting, like shoring up the tunnel so it doesn't collapse on him.
They doubted the fact. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they doubted the fact that he spent 6 nights in these sewers. But I kind of think he did.
Oh, of course he did.
Because how else would you? He had every single aspect
I
of
wouldn't
the
be
trip
surprised if it
planned.
was longer than that. It was more time.
Yeah, maybe.
110 bags of cement for the tunnel walls, 300 meters of electric cables, 2 AEG electric drills, a hydraulic lever, a laser, first aid kit, portable stove, waterproof overalls, boots, protective gloves, industrial smoke extractor.
That
Brilliant.
was genius.
And totally necessary.
Absolutely.
You think this tunnel is going to start getting smoky. It's going to get chemically smells.
Right. If you forget, I think if anything was to be forgotten in real life, that's what it would be.
Oh, for sure.
You're
gonna be in a coffin like, what the
They
fuck?
would die of inhalation down there. They'd all be like halfway through the wall. They'd all be passed out.
2 inflatable rubber dinghies, which are little rubber rafts.
Right.
And inflatable truck tires, and obviously more and more stuff, like little smaller things. But that was the majority of it, because they're going to have to take these rubber rafts through the sewers to get to their access point into the bank.
Right.
His intent was to leave the tools behind and create a lot of work for the police to try and trace the tools to no avail, which is exactly what ended up happening. He's sending them on these wild goose chases that just waste time,
Yep.
And like if you watch the first 48, time is of the essence to catch a criminal.
Right.
Now he needs a place to store the tools until they are ready, so he obtained a villa outside of Nice and moves all of his equipment there. And then the book said this is a big mistake, his decision to do this rather than to just use his own home.
It would have been fine, except for one woman, right? She kind of turned the cops onto this place.
Never underestimate a jealous
A jealous
wife.
woman. That's right.
She almost single-handedly got him caught.
Right.
As it so happens, the owner of the villa didn't live close by, and as such, had friends watching over his place and keeping track with a key that he would lend to them. Unfortunately for the gang, the husband in this couple went out of town on business for the weekend, and his wife was convinced that he was cheating on her. She noticed that the key for the villa was missing and figured that he was using the villa to bang some side piece.
Right.
Decided to drive out to the villa. Now, this is the villa that they're using to set up for this heist. They've got
Right.
all their shit, like, at this place. And luckily, she didn't have the key because the key was gone. But I guess that's the reason that she suspected it was going on in the first place.
Right.
She got close enough to the villa to see that it was in fact occupied, but not close enough to see whether or not it was her husband in there. So she decided that he was definitely banging a girl in there. He saw like the window, the curtains were drawn, there's lights on in there, and she's like, you just picture her immediately like, I know it.
I know it. Yeah, I almost wish she had a key, you know?
Yeah.
But then she might be dead, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not.
She decided to call the owner of the villa and convinced him to call the police that someone was robbing his villa because she said, did you plan on having any guests at the villa right now? Because there's people there. I drove by. The police had to go check on the villa twice before they found any people there. On the second visit, they encountered 4 of Spaghieri's crew in several vehicles. His crew managed to convince the police, although their story and supporting alibi was extremely shaky, that they were there for a bachelor party of sorts. And they were kind of like, yeah, somebody, our friend's bringing the key. They're like, well, okay, well, let's go find your friend. Yeah. Well, no, actually, he's getting the key from somewhere else.
Yeah, listen, and the key is so far away.
And it's important to note that these cops were like rural police. They really didn't have any ability to do anything. They just kind of like would report to the real police what was going on.
And they hadn't encountered this type of thing anyway.
And they were very curious and fascinated by it. It's just the most interesting thing that's going on. Like they come across this weird villa that's not supposed to be occupied, but it is, and it's got a bunch of weird guys. These cars that they're all driving aren't their cars. There's other people's cars.
Right.
And so they're just like, what the fuck's going on? Something's going on here. Something's being planned.
I feel like even if they were walking into the villa, right, and then somebody outside was like, hey, these guys are planning to rob a bank in here, they wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
They would go in and be like, Are you guys robbing a bank or like exactly? I feel like that's exactly what they would do. They didn't,
because we're going to go tell the real police if you are.
Yeah, you better not.
And then they're not going to believe us anyway, even when we tell them.
Exactly.
You guys are saying this? Get on your bikes and ride away.
Yeah,
we got real police work to do, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they picked a good spot in that it was a rural. That's the police that you're dealing with.
Right.
They really don't know what they're doing. All they did was do some detailed reporting, and then nothing kind of came of it until later. Their detailed reporting was important, though, to the police when they actually started trying to find who really robbed this bank. Once it comes to light,
right?
They come back to this villa. It all kind of comes back.
They
around
actually
to the villa
had
again.
a great start of solving the crime,
right?
But they just didn't follow through on it. They didn't have the resources.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, we're not saying that they didn't know how, or they couldn't have solved it. They just they didn't have the resources to do it because they weren't given the power to do it.
Exactly.
They weren't detectives. They weren't detectives.
Right.
So yeah, the police collected papers from everyone there and checked up on all the cars. Being a rural police force, as we mentioned, they had limited resources, but they did discover the cars didn't belong to any of the men at the villa. They had quite a few names and the information on the vehicles, but by an impressive stroke of luck, nothing ever came of it. This happened 10 days before the robbery, so they were onto it.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were onto, but they were onto it.
They were onto something.
Spaghieri was notably scared by their brush with the police, and originally the heist was planned to start the following evening. However, he postponed it after that, and also because the French president was coming to town.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Security's going to be hotter. There's going to be more people in town. There's going to be more eyes.
He was actually really worried that with the president coming to town that they were going to be inspecting the underground road, inspecting the sewer system for any kind of bombs or anything like that, and they would discover their tunnel that they had made. He and his crew had spent almost 6 weeks leading up to the crime preparing the tunnel. They had left the last little bit of digging for the weekend. They planned to do the robbery, and they maybe miscalculated a little bit how much digging was still left.
I was about to say there was a little more than a little digging left.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the few mistakes they made. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't a mistake that really ruined anything. It just took longer, and they ended up getting less valuables because they had less time in the vault. Yeah. So let's get to the night that it went down.
Oh, the night of the heist.
Friday night, 10:30 p.m., July 16th, 1976. Spaghieri and his crew entered the underground road in Spaghieri's Land Rover, which was loaded with as many tools as it could possibly carry. They had lookouts already in the tunnel watching over the entrance to make sure it was safe to enter. They were using walkie-talkies. They had a pretty elaborate lookout scheme going on. They had a guy on a motorcycle out on a road who would walkie-talkie to the guy at the entrance of the tunnel. And
they had every angle as far as roads coming up to the tunnel. Every angle was covered.
There was 20 people, I think, involved in this? Somewhere around 20.
Somewhere around 20
He never gave the exact number because he never gave the names or anything, but I think it was around 20 in their crew, which is crazy.
There was only a few people named, like the driver, which was the Chinaman,
and
he also was a welder. And then there was, of course, the mason.
Yeah.
And then that's really the only ones that I think were specific as far as the crew. But of course, those aren't real names, so they had nothing to go on.
Yeah. The second half of the team had reached the underground road from the parking garage under the Plaza Messina. They had with them all of the rubber suits, the 2 inflatable dinghies, and the inflatable truck tires. They had a doctor. What are the truck tires to carry like heavy equipment, or what? They would float them down on the tires, or what?
Yeah, the same way as the dinghies.
Right. Okay. They had a doctor on call and a near. This damn man. They even had a doctor on call in case of emergencies or injuries or
That's
sickness.
what I'm saying. Like Spaggiari, like he took care of his crew.
Yeah.
He did. They were like a small little family for the time that they spent down there.
Albert had told the doctor that the possible issues they may encounter included asphyxiation, claustrophobia, and mechanical injury. So that's what the doctor should expect, possibly.
Those are good guesses.
Right. The hydraulic lever was the only thing that could not be brought in by the boats. It was too heavy, and it would have to be lowered in through the manhole closest to the tunnel. This was the riskiest part of the operation because this thing weighed 100 pounds. This is a big, heavy, and this was what he was going to use. This is what we talked about earlier about how he had found out that the big cabinet with all the security boxes was 30,000, or it was 30 tons. So 60,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. And he got a hydraulic lever that was capable for twice that, just in case that guy's, that security guard that told him miscalculated.
Exactly.
And so the security guard, I believe, had told Albert while he was there to see his security box. He just kind of was, you know how when you open your security box at the bank, you would have to be walked in with security guard. They had a key for the bank, and you had your own key, and they would both have to be inserted into your box. I think he just casually asked him, like, what do these big cabinets weigh anyway?
Yeah,
That's when he found out.
Yep.
So, so he brought a lever that he knew if he used a board and that lever, he could push that cabinet off the wall, and that's where they could have their
only needed to move it 20 inches.
Yeah, he
So
calculated.
they didn't have to move it very far.
And they ended up moving it 21.
21 inches, yeah.
For good measure.
Right.
So they could squeeze through.
But any more than that, it could have fell over.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
This is the calculations that they had.
But you know what? If it fell over, who
Wouldn't
gives
have
a fuck?
mattered.
Yeah, who cares?
It was one cabinet. They had 4,000 security boxes they could break into.
That's what I was thinking too. But I think they just wanted to be as discreet as possible.
Yeah. They moved all the tools onto the inflatables via the water in the sewers. Once they got into the entrance of their tunnel, the mason unrolled the rope carpet from the floor, or for the floor of the tunnel that would make it easier to bring the tools down. Once again, thinking of everything.
Yep.
All in all, they moved in about 1 ton of tools and equipment into the tunnel. And Saturday night, the next night at 1:30 a.m., they were now working on chiseling through the rest of the vault. It was 1 foot thick, and they had only 6 more inches to go. However, because the only tools they could use were chisels and hammers, it was very slow going. Spaggiari instituted a mandatory rotation and breaks after one of the men almost passed out. So they're dying.
When were jackhammers invented? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? That could have really knocked this out.
Well, what's funny is he really honey-dicked them. Like, he told them that he had told them, like, okay, we're going to do all the hard work in the weeks leading up to this night, and then we're going to break out the laser, and it's going to be easy. We're just going to go right in that night. And so, like, they were all planned for an easy night, and they're going to get into this thing, and they're going to, the fun's going to begin. They're going to break into all these security boxes. They're going to get all the money, all the gold.
Yeah.
And when they got in there, he's like, guys, I was lying to you a little bit. We're not using a laser. You guys got to chisel this shit out. The laser is too dangerous. It would create too much gas and smoke, and it would basically asphyxiate us to death in here in this tunnel if we try to use a laser in here. I told you that just so that your spirits would be a little higher.
Dude,
and he knew at that point they weren't going to back out because they had gone too far.
Exactly. Dude, the jackhammer was invented in 1894.
Huh, so there must have been, I mean, can you like horizontally jackhammer though? Can't you just jackhammer down? I think it would be extremely like hard and dangerous.
It would be difficult to jackhammer sideways. But if you got 20 guys, you could
I just
support
can't see it working, dude.
You could support it. They're not that bad. And you could get smaller ones. Yeah.
I just picture it like slamming into your chest as you're trying to do it, or
I don't know.
You need the weight of your body going downward onto it for it to really
You
work
do, but like I
properly.
said, if you had multiple guys, though, and you wouldn't have to do it very long, you only got to break
That'd
through
be like a
6 inches of
The
concrete.
Three Stooges episodes I'm picturing. If you had like 3 guys behind a jackhammer on the wall sideways, like they're just like get punched.
Get smashed into the wall.
Yeah, I just don't see it working, dude. I think Spaggiari was smart to not bring it down there. Maybe Michael's crew can try that.
I'd have done it in half the time.
Yeah. Saturday at 10:30 a.m. So they're just hours and hours relentlessly working on this thing. They're getting very close, they think, to getting through the wall. The men were exhausted and asked if they could use the laser for the last little bit, and that's when he told them, there was no laser, bro. We're never doing it. We brought the laser just to honey dick you. I
You
just
can't use a
brought it
can't
to make
use
you
a laser.
Brought it to make you feel better.
Wouldn't the fumes coming from the laser be
Yeah, it would just be overall just in a
It's
tunnel.
too much.
you
Even
just
though
can't.
they had the smoke extractor, it still would have been too much.
Right.
Something was very unsafe about the laser.
Yeah. Yeah, we explained to them that the laser was so hot it would fry them all, and it was smoke. It would create smoke, and it would escape through the sewers and be seen coming out of the
Yeah, yeah,
manholes.
yeah.
So now Saturday at 4 p.m., just better part of the weekend. They'd now been working on this thing. The mason was at the front of the line working so feverishly with the chisel. It felt like it was welded to his hand. He got frustrated, and like a movie. This is such a movie scene. Right?
It's a movie scene.
He gets super mad, and with one big giant stroke, because he's just angry, giant stroke with the hammer, the blow forced the chisel in his hand into the hole, and the mason screamed in agony because he wasn't expecting the hole to come right at that moment, and it forced his hand along with the chisel right through the hole
And
into
it
the vault.
smashed his thumb.
Smashed the shit out of his thumb.
His thumb looked like tenderized meat.
Yep.
That's what the book described.
and what sucks for him is like
But now they're in.
yeah, he's in agonizing pain, and they're all celebrating because they're finally into the vault. They're like, "Fuck you! I don't care about your hand. We just got
No,
in."
that's not true. Spaggiari took care of him. He iced him up, and
Yeah, Spaggiari
you know.
injected him with Novocaine so that
Yeah, he's good.
for the pain, and then he brought in a first aid kit.
that's right. Ice up, son. You got work to do.
He looked at what he had done and saw that he had busted his way through. However, it still took another 5 hours of chiseling. So there's that sobering moment. It's like, all right, we got a
Right.
tiny hole, but we
Yeah.
can see in, but we can't get through yet.
We can't get through there
Keep
yet.
chiseling, boys. They cut the steel ribs in the wall out with one of the torches. Spaggiari peered through the wall and, as expected, saw the back of one of the safety deposit box cabinets, the one that was 30 tons.
Right.
And now it was time for the lever. That's when they
Oh yeah, the hydraulics, baby.
Saturday at 9 p.m., the hydraulic lever was carefully and secretly lowered into the sewer. His crew dressed it as electricity workmen, as so not to arouse suspicion. So they're up at the top in
Right.
electrical, like they work for the electric company,
Right.
dropping this lever
Little
down
hard
for the
hats
heist.
on and stuff.
Yeah, all in all, it took them 26 seconds to get the lever down there. So
That's
time is of the
fast.
essence. If you're going to do something sneaky, do it quick.
That's fast.
The lever was used to move the cabinet of safety deposits, which weighed 30 tons, away from the wall. They needed to move it 20 inches, as we talked, and they ended
Yeah.
up moving it 21. And at last, Spaggiari crawled through the hole and into the vault.
That's got to be.
Did you
an
see the
amazing
pictures?
Feeling.
See the pictures of the hole in the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's incredible.
literally just big enough for a body to go through.
Yeah.
And it's
That's all
pretty
they
high up
needed.
on the wall. It's just a big,
I know.
odd-looking hole in the wall.
I thought about that too. I was like, man, why not make it lower? I think it'd be easier to get through it, but whatever.
They got in.
Yeah.
Once inside the vault, the gang welded the door shut to the actual door that opens to the vault.
Yeah.
So that if anyone came in, and they knew no one was coming for at least a day because it was the weekend, but just on an off chance that someone did come into the bank and try to open the vault, they wouldn't be able to get in. They would figure it was stuck. They would have to wait till Monday for someone to come and get the vault door
And
open.
also, if they heard somebody messing with it, it gave them time to get away too.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, they also covered the vault's cracks so that there could be no light or smoke that would escape into the bank, just in case anyone did happen to go in the bank. Mm-hmm. No one would be alerted to their presence. And they began to set out to open the safety deposit boxes by means of any tools that they had at their disposal. They had about 24 hours to get as much loot as they could. You imagine that moment when you're like inside and you're like, here we go. We got a day. Let's fucking do this.
I know, a day.
Imagine the
It's like, man,
exhilaration.
we're
like-
making great time.
They're exhausted. No, don't get me wrong. From
Yeah.
like days of just grinding away, chiseling at the wall. But I'm sure they got just a big dose of adrenaline. Once
That's
they
what
got
I was
in
just
there.
about to say, dude. Once you go through that wall, it's like you just woke up. You stretched,
Kid in a candy
cup of
store.
coffee, you're
literally.
ready to go.
Kid in a candy store. Literally,
Joey Diaz, you're waking up. It's Monday, motherfuckers. You're in the vault.
scratch your balls and get
Scratch your balls and get your loot.
right. Before they even entered the vault, it was decided they would only take cash, gold, and gems, i.e., the least traceable items. They didn't want anything. I mean, even though a lot of that, those,
And the most widely accepted items too, as far
Yeah.
as selling them.
right. They took a break to have dinner and have a full picnic before really getting to work, complete with a portable stove and wine. Now, this surprised all the guys because they'd been just like getting by on water,
Right.
water, just the bare essentials during the actual chiseling process. But once he got in there, he had a little, Spaggiari had a little surprise for them. He brought in like goose liver pate, TV dinners, all kinds
man.
of stuff, wine, cigars.
You know, they're French. They're doing it right too, man.
Yeah.
Oh, like all their stuff is like organic over there, no preservatives. It's still like that now. You need to go to France to eat.
Yeah. I loved this moment in the book and just in this story. While they're busy at work getting the safety deposit box open, a large department store in Nice made their weekend drop of cash. So there's like a drop box.
Wait a minute, wasn't that suspected to come from a casino?
Yeah. That's what they, it's speculation. The money may have came from casino winnings or from a department store.
It doesn't seem like it would be smart for a deposit store to deposit in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That seems like more of a casino thing.
Yeah. The book alluded to it being a casino.
Yeah.
But who knows? But what we do know is that an armored truck with 2 like security guards
Right.
that transport money, showed up while they were breaking into these
This is
security
so
boxes down in the bank. And there's a chute, I guess, that they dropped this bag of cash down.
Mm-hmm.
And Spaggiari, the book said Spaggiari stood at the little where the chute comes out and literally caught the bag of money. And was like, well, we weren't expecting this. It was like $1 million in cash, right?
He gave him like a little salute. Thank you, sir. Sleep well.
And the book talked about how
smart-ass.
those security guards, they're all nervous with bringing the money up to the thing, like expecting anything to happen, like a Jose Bagoa type character to
Right.
try and get them. But once they drop down the chute, they're like, all right, our job's done.
all
Not
right.
knowing that a robber catches the bag at the end of the fucking chute.
No way anybody got that money now.
Yeah. Yeah, all weekend, spotters carefully monitored the water level in the sewers as it had been raining. They knew that if it got too high that they would be trapped. They wouldn't be able to get out in their dinghies with all of their goods.
Right.
So they had every angle covered. Monday at 5 a.m., Spaggiari let the crew know that it was time to go. At this point, they had gotten into less than 400 of the 4,000 safety deposit boxes. They left everything as it was, all tools in place, and got out quickly before the water became too high, as they were getting dangerously close to the bank being open as well. The loot went out the same way the tools came in and was loaded into the Land Rover and driven out via the underground road. Most of the crew left at different times in the underground parking garage. Finally, all of the crew and all of the loot was above ground and on their way from the bank. So let's talk about the haul, what they ended up getting. It's slightly contested how much they made away with, and and just how many safety deposit boxes they were able to open. The book says 317 boxes, as does a thorough article from New York Times. Wikipedia, however, says 400, and the website for the Société Générale says it was only 305. But I mean,
Interesting.
They have
It may have been 305 emptied completely, but they got into 317 or something like that.
Because they took pictures
Obviously, there were some that they opened, right, and they didn't take the stuff. So the bank
Some of
probably
those-
didn't count those.
The book said some of those safety deposit boxes were filled with like cans of soup and shit. Like
Yeah,
people that had-
exactly. So they're not taking that shit.
people that had gone through the Great Depression, you're worried about food becoming an issue.
They had stuff in reserve.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe they had candy they weren't supposed to get, or
maybe they
supposed to
just
have.
had-
Like
maybe
their
they just had
doctor was
some,
like, "Oh, you can have this.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Oh, eat it in my safety deposit box.
Yeah, and maybe they just
Yeah, I
had
don't know.
some stuff that was valuable to them, that had sentimental value or something in there that really didn't have any value to anyone else.
Right. Family heirlooms and
Yeah,
stuff.
which they probably would have just thrown on the ground. Because the bank relied on customers wanting to be reimbursed for what was stolen and tell them what had been in inside the boxes, that's what the bank released the number of 305.
Okay.
Société Générale estimated about 50 million francs, which is about 31 million euros in today, which translates to 36 million.
Whew.
That's what they say. The New York Times claimed it was more like 44 million in today's dollars,
Yeah.
which would have been 10 million in 1976. Either way, it was the largest successful heist in history up to that point.
What? That's the math. 44 mil today was only 10 million in 76. Wow. Inflation is a bitch.
Right.
That's crazy.
Damage control for the bank. People gathered outside the bank, which did not reopen on Monday, and the mob of people began to grow overnight. People were very nervous, fearing that their valuables in the safety deposit boxes had been taken, or that their secrets would be exposed, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because, I mean, in one of the boxes, or maybe multiple boxes, they found pictures, pornographic pictures of
Like these orgies and stuff.
members of the elite
Yeah.
in Nice, like politicians. Some of the pictures had been posted up on the wall. They like taped them up on the wall to show the
So it
police.
was the first thing
and
they
the
saw when
bankers.
they came in?
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
yeah. Okay, so basically, what the bank did was they came out to the crowd and they asked people within this range of numbers with their safety deposit boxes to stay behind, because their numbers, were within the ones that were robbed.
Right.
And then they asked to question those people what was in their boxes, and then they had to tell the police what was in their boxes, and then the police had to try to like approximate everything, and try to return what they could if their items were recovered, they would have to give back their compensation. So they were paid for the approximate value of what was in there, but if they did recover their stuff, they would have to give the money back.
Right. I wonder how many people just made a fortune on that heist. Like how many people had cans of soup in there and was like, "Oh, I had millions of dollars,"
Right.
because there was no, like you said, there was no cameras, it was full privacy. Nobody knew what was in those
And
boxes.
then there was
except
the
for them.
opposite of that. A lot of people that had really valuable shit in there didn't even say anything because they were doing it for reason, for tax purposes or whatever. They didn't want.
that's
There's a reason they had that box is just to
Yeah.
kind of hide the money or hide the goods.
Or I'm sure the people that had the boxes with the pictures didn't
Yeah.
ever come back to that bank.
Yeah, they weren't about to tell the police that those were theirs.
Right. Even though they're in the pictures, probably.
Right. So the police investigation begins. The police try to track down where the tools were purchased and trace them back to whoever purchased them. However, Spaghieri's careful plan worked brilliantly, and they were not able to trace most of the tools to specific stores, and the ones that they could trace, what they purchased had been such common items it was impossible for anyone at the store to point the police in the right direction.
Right. And it's not like they were using debit cards, so none of this was documented.
No, it was all cash.
Yeah.
Not a single fingerprint was left at the scene. That blew me away. All of the thieves wore gloves the entire time they were in there. The police, when they had found bottles filled with urine, they thought, okay, we can send this off for analysis and maybe make a link. The mineral bottles that were filled with urine, however, every bottle had been peed in by multiple people, so those came back inconclusive. There's nothing they could do about it. I don't know what they would analyze for, though. I mean, DNA matching wasn't a thing, so I guess just maybe your urine type or like what was in your system.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Maybe
they could just match it if they found a suspect.
I was going to say,
they
if
had
they caught a
something to
suspect.
match. Yeah.
If you have certain things in your urine that match, I don't know.
So they didn't even have that.
Michael's be like, this is the same amount of THC.
Yeah, this is exactly way too much for the normal human level.
No one else could survive.
No one else could survive it. This has got to be him. Right. It's either him or Willie Nelson. Like, it's got to be. I mean.
Exactly. Police searched high and low for the members of the crew after leads that didn't pan out. That turned out because many of the members of the public bragged about being involved.
Yeah.
Everyone, it was such a big thing, became such a big story. It was cool if you were involved or if someone might have thought you were involved.
Right.
So they decided to try and focus on finding the mastermind of the operation. They figured that one guy, and they figured properly, there was one guy, usually there is, that had headed this whole thing. They were certain that one man was the brain of the operation. They began cross-checking names of known criminals that operated in the area. What they did not know is that they were looking for someone who had never been on their radar in the first place.
Well, not for this type of crime, at least.
Right.
I mean, he did do 2 long jail sentences, which
but they
was
looked at
kind of
him
overlooked.
as a guy who was he was involved in these radical political movements, but not known as a guy who would be in like the mastermind of a big heist like this. He was like a dangerous guy that maybe would assassinate somebody or, had political motivations, but.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in the end, he swears that this was politically motivated. He wanted the money not for himself.
That's what he claimed.
Albert, he's claimed that he was never going to spend the money on himself. He was going to basically use it to further the movement he was a part of.
Right.
At one point, police received an anonymous call that offered the name of all the participants, but only on the condition that the bank double the reward that they were offering. So this person was basically holding them hostage, like, I'll tell you everybody that was involved in this. I know everything about it. But you got to give me, it was like he was asking for like 2 million francs or something.
Wow.
The bank was unable to negotiate, and amazingly, what was likely a credible tip with real names fell by the wayside. I think the person gave them initials they were of people that were involved in it, but I mean, where you go with that?
Right.
The police settled in for a long investigation. They knew it was going to take a while. One of the officers assigned to the case, Inspector Valentin Boschetti, might have butchered it.
Valentin, maybe.
Boschetti, while driving through the streets a few nights before the Great Heist, had happened to glance into the car traveling alongside him. In it were 2 men. He recognized one of them as Daniel Michelucci, a 34-year-old man who was well known to the police, but he did not recognize the other guy. So he pulled over the car because he's interested to find out what they were up to and who this other guy was. He got their identity cards, and he decided to search the car. In Michelucci's car, the trunk laid some chisels, but no crime had been committed, so he had to let them go. However, so it just makes you think, okay, so they weren't able to come and go to the underground road and do all this completely undetected. One of them had been pulled over, chisel was seen, and this would come to bite him in the ass a little bit later.
Right.
Because as it happened, Boschetti was one of those assigned to pour over the debris in the devastated bank vault a week later. As soon as he spied the muddy red chisels on the floor, he knew that those were the same chisels that he had seen in the trunk of the car a few nights before the robbery. This information was passed along, and the name of Daniel Michelucci was recorded. Very soon, Michelucci's name came up a second time. He was one of the men that was at the villa when police showed up, the villa that, the jealous wife had brought to the attention of the police.
That's right. That's such a
hideout.
misfortune, man.
The hideout for the gang. So random, right?
I know. You could not have calculated for that.
Right.
That just goes to show, man. Anything can happen.
Yep. After the robbery, the detectives went back to the villa where one of them noticed a rather uncommon water light flashlight, exactly like the flashlights found in the vault. And when he lifted it, he saw the bottom torn and caked with mud. The light had been sent to the PJ lab in Marseilles, whatever, French town, I guess.
Yeah.
Where its mud was compared with the Nice sewer mud, and they came back identical. I wonder how much mud is identical, though.
Got a match. Yeah, I know, right? Is it all the mud in that region?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
how much does it differ, really?
Yeah, for real. They referenced the list of men the police talked to while at the villa, Michelucci and 4 other known hoodlums. So the villa must have been the gang's headquarters, they figured. However, they didn't see in any of these men someone fit to be the brain of the operation. They knew they were just a bunch of dullards.
Right. They knew they were dealing with somebody higher. Somebody controlled these guys. These were just foot soldiers.
These were lemmings.
Yeah.
The investigation resumed. More time passed. Then 2 men, Adrian Zeppi, 54-year-old, and Francis Pellegrin, 38, were caught in a bank in the Riviera village of Roquefort-les-Pins,
Nailed it.
trying to sell 2 gold ingots whose numbers coincided with those taken at Nice. Neither
God, they should have known that. Like,
Well, they were
you
told
gotta
not to do
know
this. They
that
were
these-
told not to do this by
Oh, yeah, these-
Albert. They had sold theirs. Like Albert and like almost all the crew had sold theirs wholesale to a guy they could trust for 30% hit.
Right. And these guys were like, no way, we're going to get the full value of these.
Right, but they're
Dumbasses.
all stamped with numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so neither Zeppi nor Pellegrin was previously known to the police. Neither had been in the villa hideout when the police inspected it. Their arrest compromised the entire investigation, however, for their absence would be noticed. The police did not want to spook the rest of the gang.
Yeah, but Spaggiari was kind of hard to spook.
Yeah, he was just walking around like nothing
He
happened.
didn't give a shit. He's hanging out with his wife at the nursing office and getting coffee. You don't care.
At dawn on October 26th, the 100th day of the investigation in Nice, Marseilles, Paris, and several other cities, 27 people were detained by some 250 uniformed cops. This does not exist in the American system, the ability to...
No, well, also when they searched that guy's trunk and found the chisels, that would also be a legal search in America.
Yeah.
Like you could be fired for that.
Right.
But they said that, I mean, in France, apparently, like that's just good police work.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interpellation, which is not quite an arrest, but it's a good deal stronger than a subpoena. So they took in all these people without really, they just had strong suspicion.
Okay.
They didn't get like I don't think they got like permission from a judge to go ahead and arrest them and take them in.
Let me ask you something. Do you think crime would be less if we had these laws here? Where you could
corruption
search
would be
on
definitely
suspicion?
more. I know that for a fact. Crime may be less, but corruption would be
Interesting. Yeah.
excessive.
You talking about within the police force
Yeah,
and
of
stuff?
course,
Because they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, if they didn't have to prove anything, they could just, on a hunch or
Yeah.
out of spite, just go take anybody in.
Right. Okay.
The 27 people, not only suspects, but also associates, wives, mistresses of suspects, were taken from their beds and brought into police headquarters in Paris and Marseilles. I am probably butchering Marseilles. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, Marseilles.
Those considered dangerous were in handcuffs. All were held under legal procedure known as garde à vue for 48 hours while detectives tried to get admissions out of them. During the garde à vue, the subject may not be touched, and French law permits access to a doctor if the subject demands it.
Okay, so they're not.
So they have some rights.
Yeah, they got rights still.
The subject does not have the right to have counsel present, however, but does have the right to remain silent. He or she must be permitted to rest occasionally and be fed from time to time, but the law is not specific. Few subjects can withstand the psychological battering and the fatigue of the garde à vue for very long, though. So I guess they just really beat you down mentally.
Yeah, with no specifications as far as how they should be treated. I'm sure there's a huge range between like how the suspected dangerous subjects are being treated and then the ones that they suspect are more peaceful and whatnot. I'm sure there's a huge range. I'm sure there's some horror stories of people being treated in there. And then there's also probably, hanging out with the cops, drinking coffee or whatever.
Yeah. The 13 subjects held in Paris were released within a day. No charges filed against them. In Marseilles, where the Nice prisoners were brought, it was another story. The legal 48 hours having expired, the next stage took place, and all but 7 subjects were allowed to go home. Then the 7, including Zeppi and Pellegrin, were brought to Nice before a judge and were charged. Then, having determined that sufficient proof existed to indicate guilt, he indicted 6 of the 7 for being complicit in the bank robbery and ordered them to be remanded in prison. In France, in major criminal cases, there is most often no bail. All prisoners would remain in jail until tried, and the trial, as in the United States, might be 2 or 3 years in the future. So they know they're not getting out.
Wow.
The police know they're not getting. They have that mentality, and they might finally start talking now to try and help themselves.
Yeah, and locking up this many guys,
One of them's bound to talk, right?
somebody talked.
Kind of like in Breaking Bad.
Somebody
how,
had to have,
how
right?
Mike kept paying his guys while they were behind bars, hoping they wouldn't squeal.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they had a name. Suddenly, the police had his name, or imagined it did. Where the detectives got the tip, they were not saying. Now they had a name, but almost no proof. They spent the next 24 hours trying to dredge some up. Of course, they failed. They were afraid that their suspect might flee. They found it amazing with all the headlines that he hadn't already gone. But there he sat, like a man without a care in the world.
Which I think is who he really was. I think he really was a man without a care in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think anything rattled this man. I really don't.
Well,
Doesn't seem like it.
How it ends is proof.
Yeah.
They decided to make the arrest. They would have to trust that at some point during the 48-hour garde à vue, he would crack. They don't know him. They don't know him well enough.
him well at all.
On October 28th, the 102nd day of the investigation, Bert and Audi had lunch with a friend. None of the 3 seemed nervous or worried about the police roundup of the sewer gang, which was still going on and formed most of the sole topic of conversation in Nice. Albert did mention a somewhat strange telephone call. He had agreed to meet some men he didn't know about a business proposition of some kind. The rendezvous was set to be in front of his shop in a few minutes. Those men turned out to be police officers, and Spaggieri was being quietly arrested. He was fingerprinted, photographed, and the garde à vue began at 2:30 in the afternoon. So they got him in custody.
Yep. Good luck with that,
Who
though.
they believe to be the mastermind behind this thing, who they've been told is the mastermind.
Yep.
Detectives hammered at him. Evening came, midnight, dawn, and as the law stated, he was offered a doctor, but he refused, noting that no detective had touched him, which was as it should be. He said, since he wasn't the man they were looking for. From time to time, the detective sent out for food, which he paid for with his own money. Well,
He probably bought them food.
was it really his money?
Right.
It
It was
was now.
somebody's money. He bought them food with loot from the bank vault. He
Yeah.
fed the whole police
The
department.
Societe Generale's money. Yeah, he was allowed to use the toilet. Exact intervals between the interrogation periods were carefully noted down. He was allowed to smoke cigars. Soon it was 2:30 in the afternoon again. 24 hours. Albert now needed a shave, and his Scotch plaid suit was rumpled, but the detectives looked worse than he did. He sat with an ironical smile on his face, blowing smoke rings at the ceiling, shaking his head sadly, saying over and over again, "Why don't you admit you've made a mistake?"
Oh, my God.
I love this guy.
I know.
They told him that accomplices had talked. They hit him with the facts, supposition, rumor. They by now were in possession of a strange message from Interpol, which they hit him with as well. Someone calling himself Albert Spaggiari had visited the United States, had managed to contact the CIA, and had introduced himself as a team of expert burglars willing to burglarize European embassies on behalf of the agency.
Right.
He really did this, right? Did he go to the US?
But to be fair, if you don't live in the U.S., it's not hard to contact the CIA here.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's crazy balls on this guy to have robbed,
do this?
done the biggest heist in history, then go to the U.S. and brag about it to our CIA, saying that, and then when they asked him, like when he's saying like, oh, I can burglarize European embassies for you guys, and they say, well, how do we know that you're, capable of doing such things? He said, well, have you heard of the heist of the century? Have you not?
How have you not?
Basically alluding to the fact that he had done it. And so they kind of like took note, and I think they did call Nice, right? Or they called France and let them know that this had been done. And so that the police interrogating him hit him with this as well.
This had happened way before they brought him in.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
They had this information, and they didn't do anything about it 'cause they didn't believe it. They just thought it was someone, talking
because
shit.
it didn't fit the profile of Spaggiari at the time.
Yeah. After 36 hours of continual interrogation, Albert cracked. He began to talk, and once he started, he couldn't stop. I wonder what made him finally crack. He just was like, fuck it, I'll just tell you guys.
God, yeah, he probably just wanted to go home.
Yeah, maybe.
Or to a jail or sleep or something.
Yeah.
36 hours? Jesus.
The story he told police held some truth, but has also been significantly embellished. He said, yes, he was the brain, which was true. He had rented a box at the Société Générale 2 years ago, which was true.
True.
Every time he went down into the vault, he thought of it, which may have been exaggerated, but I think it's true. Every time he was in there, how could he not if he was going to do it?
Right. He may have exaggerated the times he went into the vault, though. Because like we said, there's only 2 documented times, and I can't see them just letting him slide in with another person or whatever.
He said that one day, finding himself alone down there, he thoroughly photographed the place, which seems most likely a lie, because I don't know if, you have to check yourself in. I'm sure they probably pat you down before you go in there, maybe. I don't know if you could just bring a camera. Cameras back then were pretty big.
Why couldn't you? What if you wanted to put a camera in your
I guess.
safety deposit box?
Yeah, I guess he could have done it.
Yeah.
He said that he then scouted out the sewers for 6 nights. He tramped around under the city, which, it may or may not have been that long, but he definitely took days to do what they did.
Yeah.
He went down to the town hall and procured the sewer plans, which was true. He needed specialized tools, difficult to procure, and financially backing to buy them. So he went to the Marcellus mob with this idea, partly true,
Yeah,
but
he
also
did go
partly
to the mob,
yeah.
but the mob didn't help him, supposedly. Of course, if I was the mob, I wouldn't want to be connected to him either. So, we'll talk about some conspiracy shit later.
Yeah.
All right.
He said that he had 2 teams of 10 men, which he said were formed mobsters on one side and his political friends on the other, which really, it was just some scrubs that he found at
I
bars
was
that
about
he
to say,
kind of...
let's be fair. It's the replacements. I mean, it's whoever he could get here, man. This is a motley crew he threw together here.
Right, yeah. They're not like these amazing criminals, masterminds that he had working with him. He just, whoever would fucking accept the job.
Right.
Who were his political accomplices? Detectives demanded. Spaggiari would give no name. Only about 5% of the loot had been recovered so far. Where was his share? He said that he had donated it all. He claimed to a right-wing political organization called the Katina, which no longer existed.
So it no longer existed at the
But
time
maybe
that
it was
he
just
said.
underground.
Yeah, right. Or maybe he just kept all the money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Detectives would go on hunting for his accomplices and for the loot. For all their efforts, they found neither.
Perfect.
Spaggiari was charged and spent quite a bit of time in prison awaiting trial. Every Thursday, he would meet with a judge who would question him, and he would try to get Spaggiari to divulge all the details, saying that it was going to help the police, squash these type of things later on. Maybe further heists could be prevented if we learn everything we have to learn about the greatest heist that's ever done. This judge was really curious.
But why would he tell them, though? Why would he go against his culture, his people? You know what I mean? Like his underground
He loved
society.
to do it though. Spaggiari would do it every Thursday, and he got off on it. We talked about all these.
But what I'm saying is, do you think he's giving him honest stuff in these Thursday meetings, or
Probably
you think
not.
he's just bullshitting them?
Probably
he's not giving them real techniques, real methods here.
Well, he's leading him on for a purpose.
Oh yeah,
He's leading him on for a purpose every Thursday. He's got a plan in place, as Spaggiari always does. And the way this would work is he would be brought from the jail to the courthouse. He would always be dressed in a nice suit and always accompanied by 2 officers. He spent every one of those sessions telling embellished tales and coming up with explanation and details that held almost no truth. Mm-hmm. It seemed as though he enjoyed telling them. Nevertheless, his charm seemed to work, and they grew to like him and gave him even more freedom than other prisoners might enjoy.
See, that's what I was talking about. Like the people being held, there's a broad range of how you might be treated.
Yep. And so the judge kept telling him, like, look, I want exactly what happened. I want to know how you did this. And
he wanted the
next
plans.
Thursday.
He wanted a drawn plan of like, where did you go? Where did you come in from? How did you do this?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So he tells him next Thursday, I expect this. And Spaggiari goes, all right, this is when I'm going to make my move.
Sure.
So that particular Thursday, the judge had inquired about the plans for the sewer, and Spaggiari slowly and dramatically pulled this piece of paper out of his jacket.
Out of his jacket pocket.
And produced this piece of paper, which he unfolded and said, this is everything right here. Walked it over to the judge. Mm-hmm. And he had really made it so elaborate and just
packed full of information.
And hard to understand that the judge is really just like looking at it like, I don't even know what to fucking make of this.
Right.
And while the judge is sitting there trying to really interpret what's on the page, Spaggiari, he turns to look at Spaggiari and question him about the drawing. And Spaggiari slowly walks over to him even closer and starts to point at the page and says, look at this. And in a flash, he
Bonjour.
In a flash, Spaggiari turns
gone.
and launches himself out of a window that was behind the judge. Of course, it was not barred, which it obviously should have been.
Right. I bet,
prevent
bet
this
they
type
are
of
now.
There was also, real conveniently, like a 2 or 3 foot ledge just outside of that window that he could walk along,
Right.
spot his landing, which was a car that was parked just down below.
Yeah.
Lands on the roof of this car. This poor bastard. We'll talk about the guy, the car.
Yeah,
that he
we'll come back
landed
to that.
on. He lands on a fucking car,
Right.
jumps off the car,
Dents the
jumps on the
roof.
back of a motorcycle, which is already running and revved up.
Yep.
One of his accomplices.
Yep.
This whole thing had been set up.
Probably from
and
the
he's
mob.
gone. And he's off. Never to be caught again.
Never to be caught
Never
again.
to be fucking caught
They couldn't
again.
even. They couldn't even set up roadblocks fast enough. He had all this planned. He
Dude,
had
yeah,
all
a
this
motorcycle
planned.
cop tried to make chase, but he said that by the time
Forget it.
like he got on his bike and jumped on, they were gone.
Forget it.
They were gone.
Yeah, it was like a Kawasaki 900, which was a big bike for there. I mean, probably most people are riding around in Vespas and shit. So, yeah, I
Unbelievable.
don't know.
And so the car, let's talk a little about the car. So he jumps out of the window, lands on this guy's car. This poor bastard had bought this new, really nice car. He had never had such a nice car before.
Right.
And he had gotten some damage from parking it, like I think near his home or something. And he decided to start parking it near the courthouse
Right.
because he didn't want any further damage. Someone
Right.
had
What would
scratched
be
his car.
safer than right there, right?
Right in front of the
Police
courthouse.
station, courthouse, downtown. It's a great place to park.
Someone jumps out of the window at the courthouse and lands on the roof of his car, just destroying it.
This
And
dude must
insur-
just be a shitty person or something. Like, what's
when
going on?
And when he made a claim to insurance for the car, the insurance company said, "We're not paying out on such a crazy thing that happened. We just don't believe someone jumped out of a courthouse, landed on your
Yeah,
car."
they didn't have State Farm then, right? Don't they cover anything?
Right.
Like herd of squirrels dent your car. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, sure, whatever. At least
Yeah.
that's what they say.
Criminal
on the
jumps out a
commercials.
window on top of your car.
Yeah, they got you covered.
Yeah. No, so he had to make a claim with the police to try and get his money. You guys know what happened. You guys let this guy escape and he landed on my car.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys reimburse me? Of course, they're not going to reimburse him. And a story gets written in the newspaper about it.
Yep.
Spaggiari being Albert Spaggiari,
Right.
sees the newspaper article and sends the guy. So the guy's repairs were $600, I believe,
Yeah.
for the car. He sent him like $620, a little extra 20 for his efforts.
What a stand-up guy, man. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's certain parts of it where you're like, he's not so bad. He's not. He didn't even harm chickens. Come on, man.
Yeah, he was. However, he was never seen again. However, he was heard from. Rumors of Spaggiari's movements and escaped swirled for many years, and occasionally he couldn't resist sending the media taunting notes.
Oh, yeah,
he
liked
thrived
that.
on the attention and the notoriety. It was said that he went to didn't he go to Central America or
South
something?
America.
South America.
Yeah.
He was not seen again until his body appeared on the kitchen table at his mother's house in June of 1989. He was 56 years old and had died of natural causes, apparently. And his crew, he was living in some hideout, and I'm sure he still had bodyguards because he had tons of money. I don't know where he'd hid his money while he was locked up, but apparently he had gotten it back, and he was living high on the horse.
Yeah.
Rumors spread that he was just living every day with beautiful women around, smoking cigars, drinking.
And the book also alludes to the fact that that this wasn't his body that was delivered to his mom. It's
possible.
They think that it's much more likely he died in Italy or something in the company of his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe she well, they said maybe, but why would his wife take his body to his mother's house, put it on the table?
No,
That
it
doesn't
was
seem
it
like
was his criminal associates that supposedly the book said that they had
Yeah.
brought the body to his mom's house.
I don't know. Yeah, that makes more sense. Like trying to make a statement and then just doing right by him so she could bury her son or whatever. But
Right.
I can't see because there's a theory that he just died of whatever natural causes in Italy at 56. I mean, the dude looked pretty fit to me. He doesn't look like he's gonna just kill over at 56.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that he really didn't rat out any of the people involved in the heist, and so the ones that they caught that that actually got convicted, they only spent I think 2 years and they were out, and they only recovered such a small amount of the money. I forget what the number was. The book said at the end, very small amount of money that they recovered. All that money is just
Worth it.
gone. Yeah, a lot of the
worth it,
people
I
that
guess.
were involved in the heist got away,
Yeah.
and people that got caught didn't spend hardly any
That
time.
reminds me of all the people that were involved in the Ross Ulbricht case. All
Yeah,
the people
Silk
that
Road.
laundered money and stole Bitcoin and all that stuff. Yeah, they did a few months in prison or whatever, but they got to keep everything.
Yeah,
It's totally worth it.
right.
A lot of those guys made
we're in
it
the wrong
away.
business.
Apparently.
We're getting the heist business.
Jesus.
They're fun on GTA. You ever done a heist on GTA?
Right.
Good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed a heist episode. No moida for once.
Right. Something different.
And we hope you enjoyed our horrible French accents.
Don't bombard us with how to
Pronunciations.
pronunciate pronounce French words. We can't even pronunciate regular words.
Sarah S. put in as much pronunciation help as she could for us with these crazy city names and people names, and
we appreciate that a lot, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we still probably forgot the pronunciation and butchered them later on.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But we hope you guys enjoyed this freebie.
Yep,
It was
a lot of fun.
Fun
different.
case to study. Different, very different. Fun, great book. Check out the book for sure.
Yeah.
Let's give it another plug real quick.
We should.
It's on Audible. It's got an Audible, and you want to hear a little bit. I don't know. Should we play any?
Under the Streets of Nice.
Under the Streets of Nice by Ken Follett and Renee L. Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
The bank heist of the century.
Oh, you want me to play
And
some of it?
It was narrated by Roddy McDowell, who did a great job. It's very French.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Oh, you
just
got
play
it?
just a snippet.
The thermometer would rise past 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's so good.
Yeah, so
He's got the perfect voice.
You got what, 4 hours of that? It's great.
Not quite 4 hours, yeah. It's a perfect length. It doesn't provide too much information, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it's good. It gives you a little bit of what's going on at the time, but not a whole lot. Like some books will spend, half the book is all set up.
It's just the right amount of descriptive. It describes the feeling in the town and the people that are involved, but it's not overly descriptive.
And I like how it starts out with the bank owner finding the vault lock and stuff, just like we started the show today. But
you feel that
I like that.
You feel that Pierre Bagou, he was a guy that liked to have control over everything, have everything in order.
Yeah.
And then this just derailed his shit.
Like we said, this was a very accomplished man. Like he was a good athlete, apparently a good rugby player, very fit, very particular about how he ran things.
Liked having his bank run a certain way.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's out on the curb while the police have roped off his fucking bank and are tearing
He's
apart
got
the
a
vault.
giant hole in the bank vault. Where the city
Should have put up security cameras there, Bagoo.
Yeah, should have.
Yep.
Well, live and learn, man.
Yep. All right, guys, that's this week's episode. Let's do some shout outs and some plugs. You want to talk some, oh my Gaia?
Yeah, let's talk all my Gaia.
Oh, I guess,
shall we?
Podbean may be doing some advertising for us now. We hit some threshold to where it's like advertisements may get plugged into the beginning of our
Yeah,
episode.
so you guys may have heard something in the beginning of this episode, but we're gonna do our best to not put anything in the middle.
Right.
There may be a little 20-second, 30-second ad at the beginning or the end, but we are we want to keep the integrity of. So once the podcast gets going, that's us. So feel free to skip that or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah. So Oh My Gaia. Oh My Gaia is an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural paraben and aluminum-free organic ingredients. There's tons of scents. Our scent being True Crime Pine. If you'd like to try that. Dude, True Crime Pine is really growing on me. I've been wearing it a lot more lately.
I'm rocking Fireside right now.
Are you? I love Fireside.
But it just day to day. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
I was rocking TCP.
Yeah. TCP. That sounds like a freaking intense drug or something. Right. TCP.
Right.
Hey dude, you got any TCP? But there's tons of scents. Some of our favorite are like Lorne likes Lumberjack as well.
Yes.
Leather's a really good one. Egyptian Musk is one of my favorites. And like Fireside, which we both wear Fireside, and True Crime Pine, of course. But there's vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, all kinds of stuff, guys.
Don't forget
she's adding new scents all the time.
Don't forget the beard bush, too.
Oh, that's right. And
Or
beard,
the bush oil.
Beard
Bush
slash bush oil. You can get that as well, or just
Beard-
regular scented
beard-
oil.
What did I just say? Beard bush?
You said beard bush.
Beard bush oil.
Beard bush.
Make that a scent.
But you can get most of these scents in a scented oil.
What's the best part? We got a code that'll
We
help you
got a
save some
code.
money.
The code is CREEPER, CREEPER, and that will get you 15% off your order. Guys, I suggest that you look on there, find a scent that you know you'll like, order that one. If you're curious about other ones, send Wendy over there an email or whatever, after you've made the purchase, and she can send you samples or whatever, and you're guaranteed that you're going to find something else you like too. I mean, I would wear pretty much any of these scents that are, made for men, I guess.
Right.
Pretty much. I haven't been disappointed with any of them.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to wear. Let's see, which one I wouldn't wear. I don't think I would wear. I don't think I'd wear Dreamsicle.
Dreamsicle
or like
smells
lavender.
amazing, though. I want it on my woman.
Bergamot Amber is actually a really good scent. My wife loves that scent. I like it too.
Sandalwood's
but I wouldn't-
phenomenal.
I just
Sandalwood's underrated.
It is. It is. It's very versatile. That's one of the goes either way ones.
Very clean, hippie
True Crime
smell.
Pine can go either way.
I would wear sandalwood if I were
Sandalwood
camping
could go
or
either
something.
way.
You
Yeah.
just smell like the woods. You smell it, but not in a weird way. You smell like, I don't know. It just smells good.
Like a nice hippie.
Yeah.
But yeah, use the code CREEPER for 15% off, guys. You can find her at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com.
Yeah. All right. We already plugged Patreon at the beginning of the episode, so we're not going to bother you guys with that
Yeah,
anymore.
you can find us patreon.com/truecrimeguys. Like we said, tons of episodes on there, $2 a month. So you guys check that out if you get caught up.
Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, at True Crime Guys on all of those.
Right.
Check out our Facebook page. Check out our closed Facebook group that's ran by Michelle K.
Yeah, so like if you want to kind of follow what's going on, but you don't want your friends and family to know that you like true crime, or you don't want to be associated with the weird shit that we post.
Creeper on the down low.
If you're a creeper on the DL, right? Yeah. You can join that group and nobody will know. And Michelle K will also keep you guys up to date on everything that's important that's going on with the show. She's always posting when new episodes are up. Patreon stuff is up, giveaways, all that shit. So she does a great job there.
Yep.
And that's True Crime Guys closed group on Facebook. Anything else? You can follow me on social media at @I'mMichael on Instagram and on Twitter. Anything else?
Yeah, we got to give the people who have rated and reviewed on iTunes. We are now over 700 iTunes reviews.
What?
And don't look now. We've managed to get back to 5-star average.
Oh no, somebody's gonna fuck us up.
Oh,
right
I know.
now.
I know.
Don't you do it if you.
I know. I just jinxed it, but it was pretty cool to see that. I think we're more of a 4-star podcast, but dude, I will take it.
I'll take it.
To
Yeah.
see us get back to 5 stars. There's not many podcasts that have that many reviews and are sitting at a 5-star average. That is pretty awesome.
That is incredible, guys.
So
Thank
people
you
get
so
your 1
much.
stars in to ruin it.
Yeah, hurry up and do that before our heads blow up.
Yeah.
Also, I got some news. I just found this. I just kind of got up and found this out yesterday. I got up with Esther from Once Upon a Crime. If you were anywhere near San Jose, I guess it's kind of near San Francisco, right?
Yeah. It's up in NorCal.
Yeah, it's up northern
Bay
part of
Area,
California.
I
If
think.
you're anywhere,
It's not too far from there.
yeah, if you're anywhere near San Jose, California, on Saturday, October 13th at 7 p.m., I will be at Esther's meetup, Once Upon a Crime. If you haven't listened to that podcast, check it out. She's one of the best storytellers in the business. She does the story by chapters. It's amazing. She'll be there, and I'll be there at the V-Bar Hotel in Valencia, Santana Row, San Jose, California. So save the date, guys. That's Saturday, October 13th at 7 p.m. Me and Esther will be there.
Hell yeah.
Meet you guys.
Get to meet
Lauren
half
can't
the-
make it. He's got a lot of stuff going on
Yeah,
right,
I'm
right now.
like-
It's just kind of a bad time. So.
Yeah, I'm mid-selling my house right now.
Yeah.
The studio is in shambles. We literally
Lauren
have
might be living in a
blankets.
trailer out in the desert at that time, so it could be kind of
That's
crazy.
not even a joke. I might be.
Yeah.
We have blankets hung up on the walls right now because I took everything off the walls in the studio. My life's in shambles. So yeah, no meetup for me right
Maybe
now.
I'll FaceTime him and I'll talk with you guys while
I'm in my trailer.
that would be cool. Maybe I'll just go and like talk with some people
Oh, hell
and, like,
yeah.
where they can FaceTime you too at the same time. Maybe we'll do it through Snapchat or something.
All right, that works.
Cool.
Yeah, so get to meet Michael, guys.
That'd be fun.
I want to thank these people for their iTunes reviews. If you guys get a second, you want to go write a review for us, or just go click 5 stars. That helps the
Yep,
show.
it helps promote the show a lot, guys. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I want to thank Moose33, Sparks947. I don't know when to stop. I'm probably going to give some people some double shouts. I'm just going to go for a little while.
That's okay.
Fuck it. Amblil,
Yeah.
AMBLIL, Londa1984, Mooney719, Jeff is bored,
Nice.
T Slimpo 831, Morbid Mickey, ODM3, Alyssa Gold, and I think I've done Ruby Vega, but I'll do a Ruby Vega one more time.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we're caught up at that point.
Cool.
But yeah, that's pretty cool that we're over 700. We're in a 5-star average. Thank y'all.
Right.
Thank y'all for that.
And thank you for those of you that have reviewed in other countries or whatever. We try to
Oh,
get
for sure.
those periodically and give you guys shouts too, because iTunes kind of divides that stuff.
If you're a Stitcher person, you can still rate on there, and we hit those
Yeah.
reviews every now and then. Give you guys shout outs for that.
Right?
Yeah,
Anything else?
I don't think so.
That's pretty much it. Like we said, guys, if you're on Patreon, we're still going to be doing the giveaway, so don't freak out that we took all the posts down off Patreon. That's still happening.
And we just won't talk about it until we're recording the episode. Then we'll
Exactly.
tell you. We can't say that we're doing a review on Patreon with a post. We can't because they catch it.
Yeah, we can't say we're doing a giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, is that it?
that's it.
Are we
All
done?
right, guys.
Let's wrap this up, put a
Keep
bow on it.
creeping. See y'all next week for another freebie.
Yep, keep creeping, guys.
Later.
True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder, get murder, get murder. True crime, guys. In the desert, we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us, cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder charming.